Good evening. For everybody that has just joined, I am just going to give this a little bit more time to count down because I turned on monetization recently, and what it seems to do is it plays an advert right before I go live, and I don't actually know now at what point you guys can see what I'm trying to tell you guys. So I'm going to give it another few seconds. We're kind of going to ignore the countdown timer. The great thing about this being live, raw and unfiltered is that you always get to see me make mistakes. So I haven't figured this bit out yet. I don't know if people are watching different length adverts. No idea. But we're going to let this count down one more time and then we are going to get to it. So see you in 20. If you're thinking about renting a property in Cyprus, either to live in or as an investment, and today I'm going to show you what properties actually cost across Paphos, Limassol, Larnaca, Nicosia and Famagusta, basically the whole island. Because depending on where you rent and what you rent, the difference can be thousands. You're watching Cyprus Unfiltered. I want to tell you real stories about real life here in Cyprus. Now look, today we're going to compare these 5 main areas, and the ones we're going to compare are the ones I've just said. So Paphos, Limassol, Larnaca, Nicosia, Famagusta. And like the house price video I did recently, I just want to say, look, when I say Famagusta, and I'm going to go on to the map for this. When I say Famagusta, I'm not talking about the city of Famagusta itself. I'm talking about the region. And essentially, if I just show you this, for those of you that aren't aware, Cyprus is broken up into several different regions. So where I live is Paphos, but you've got the region of Paphos and you've got the city of Paphos. And so if you live in Paphos, then you live in Paphos. It's like Leicester, Leicestershire. You live in Paphos. So Famagusta isn't the city that's on this side here. We're talking about this bottom part of Famagusta here. So when we're referring to Famagusta, that's where we're referring to. It's all on the southern Greek side. So, well, the Republic of Cyprus, let's call it that, right? So what we're going to do is we are going to compare the prices across all 5 regions. We are going to look at which are the most expensive. We're going to see which offer the best value for money. And we are going to look at some assumptions that people have made, because I'm pretty sure, like me, some of you watching this now will already have an opinion on which areas are the most expensive, which areas are the cheapest. So right as we're getting onto that, I'd be really interested, for those of you watching this, put in the comments, where do you think is the most expensive? Where do you think is the cheapest? And for those of you watching live now, put it in the chat as well, because I'd be keen to see who guesses right. So where did I get this data from? Well, let's just say it's all data out there in the public domain, and we're just going to leave it at that, right? Thing is though, data is meaningless. Information that you derive from that data is where the value is at. And so what I've done for the purpose of tonight is I've created a tool that's going to allow me to compare the rental prices live in front of you tonight all over Cyprus for you guys watching this specifically. So with that said, let's bring the data to life and let's get straight into it. There's going to be a bit of back and forth, but it's mainly going to be forth because we're going to be using a tool that I've built. So when we go over to this, hopefully you can see this here. Well, I don't know what I'm saying. Hopefully, I know you can. I know you can because it's the same every week. Anyway, what we have is a series of charts. We've got a series of filters down the left-hand side. And what we're going to be looking at tonight is going to be quite a technical session, I think, tonight. But what we're going to be looking at is I'm going to take you through some areas, some assumptions, and everything else. And then when we come on to the Q&A later, if there's any specific areas you want me to look at, zone in on, then we can do that as well. So with that said, what I wanted to start with here, I'm going to explain what you're seeing on the screen, and then I'm going to talk you through it. So what we have on the screen right here, we've got the districts. And at the moment, all districts are selected. So we've got Famagusta, Larnaca, Limassol, Nicosia, and Paphos. Now, straight away, for those of you that guessed Limassol was the most expensive area, on the face of it, you'd be right. But not every time. I'm going to come into that. We've selected apartments, houses, and also commercial units, right? So office blocks, warehouses, things like that. And then we've got the maximum price. So we're just leaving it on max for now. And we've got the area covered. So we can see per square meter what the what the rental is in each of these areas. And then we've got bedrooms and bathrooms. And then we've got the year built. So we're going to go through all of this and we're going to see how this chart changes, because I'll be honest, I've lived here for 2.5 years. I had an opinion, just like you guys have got an opinion tonight. And when I was going through the data, it surprised me. So here we go. Let's get into it. We're going to start with all districts. And let's start with apartments. So straight away, if you see the graph has changed, with commercial in there, if you're renting commercial units, Limassol is clearly the most expensive, right? Take them away. Look at that, right? Limassol is most expensive for commercial units. If you want to rent a commercial unit, it seems like the best place to go is Famagusta, who's cheapest. Also, because not a lot happens over there. It's all tourists for the most part. But let's go back to apartments. So apartments, you look at this and you go, wow, Famagusta, it was way cheaper on commercial, but now it's the second most expensive place on the island for apartments. Why is that? I'll tell you why. It's because it's tourist hotspot. So Limassol is always going to be more expensive for the most part, because that's where a lot of the business is. It's where a lot of the it's almost like the business hub of the island is. You get a lot of the expat money going there, and you get pretty much the majority of the wealth is in Limassol. The most money, the most expensive apartments, the most expensive houses, pretty much all goes on in Limassol. But Famagusta for apartments is second most expensive. In the peak season, coming into summer, people will rent Famagusta apartments more than they would, let's say, Nicosia. Because if you remember my video from a couple of weeks ago, Nicosia is very much, it's the steady Mabel of the island. It's kind of business, but it's locals, and you get less rents, you get less return on your money, but also you get more stability. Whereas Famagusta is going to fluctuate, because off season, if you've ever been there, for anybody that's ever been to Prataris off season, it's like a ghost town. But anyway, so apartments, second cheapest here in Famagusta. But is that always the case? Because now we're going to filter by bedrooms. If we were to look at 1-bedroom apartments, it's going to change everything again. So actually, it's not changed a huge deal. So it's still the same. Let's go to 2-bed, right? Everything's pushing up. Go 3 beds. That's interesting, isn't it? A 3-bed apartment in Famagusta, on average, is now renting for more than a 3-bed apartment in Limassol, right? Because you're going to have more families going to Famagusta than you are Limassol. Limassol is predominantly business. So a lot of money goes to Limassol, yes. But Famagusta is where you'll have a load of families all piling into a house or an apartment as an Airbnb to go on holiday. So now all of a sudden Famagusta is more expensive than Limassol. That I didn't see coming. But let's keep going. Let's go 4 beds. That's interesting. Why 4 beds now shot up, right? This is live data. This is real data that's out there right now on the internet. So this is what's for sale. If you wanted a 4-bed, now it's more expensive in Limassol again. Don't really understand the logic of that one. If you think you know why it would be more expensive for a 4-bed apartment in Limassol, but a 3-bed in Famagusta, let me know. I'd be really interested. And let's go 5 beds. There we go. There aren't even any 5 beds in Paphos or Famagusta. So now we're just Larnaca and Limassol, right? But let's go back to all of them. Let's go back to all beds, right? And now, what about the year of construction? So if we go to new builds, interestingly, again, new builds are more expensive in Famagusta than they are Limassol. Now, that could be down to the bedrooms. So if we go back to, say, 1 bed, Famagusta 1-bedroom apartments rent for more than Limassol 1-bedroom apartments if it's a new build. If it's any year, Limassol is more expensive, right? Told you it's not straightforward, is it? So it's interesting how there's a higher value on the new builds versus, let's say you go to an older build, so older than 2000, Limassol's back to be more expensive again. And the apartments have dropped off the other 2 locations at the moment, for 1 beds anyway. But right, let's go back to this. So you've got older builds are more expensive in Limassol, new builds more expensive in Famagusta. And if you go middle of the road, so let's say fairly modern from 2010, still Famagusta. And then we've got here anything between 2000 and 2009, Limassol screams ahead. That's probably to do with the district that it's built in more than anything. But anyway, you can see there is a massive difference to what you would perhaps have expected. For me, I thought it'd be a washout. I thought Limassol would be more expensive all the time, and it's not the case. But let's look at houses. So let's just reset this back. Now let's look at houses. So, as expected, Limassol's more expensive to start with. So what if we change the number of bedrooms? Okay. Limassol, still the most expensive. What about if we go to a two-bed house? Limassol's still the most expensive. But interestingly, two-bed house in Famagusta and Larnaca, about the same price, but it's now cheaper to rent that than it would be in Paphos. Okay. What about three beds? Now, Paphos is most expensive. If you want a three-bed house, more expensive to rent a three-bed house in Paphos than it is anywhere else on the island. And I'll be honest, when we've been looking at rentals on this side of the island for three-bed villas seems to be ridiculous. You're looking at this average price, $3,500. The prices around here have absolutely shot up for villas in this area. It's just they're very expensive. Of course, you can get cheaper ones. Obviously, it depends on the fit and finish and the age of it and everything else. We're going to come on to the age in a second. Yes, you can get cheaper ones, but on the most part, when we were looking to change our house, there wasn't a huge amount of selection for a decent price. Let's get to four beds. Famagusta, back pretty much, is that at the top now? Average rent 6.4 versus 6.2. So it's now, for a four-bed house, more expensive than Famagusta, but it's on par with Limassol. Again, that's probably down to lots of families all piling into what would be an Airbnb, potentially. Let's go five beds. Back to being Limassol, that's probably your big expensive villas in the more luxurious locations or more exclusive locations. Okay, now let's go to just the construction. So if we were to look at new builds, pretty much the same. Limassol's most expensive, Famagusta and Paphos kind of on the outliers, and then you've got Larnaca and Nicosia being the cheapest for new build houses. What about modern houses? So anything between 2010 2019, all of a sudden Paphos shoots up in price. Now, I think part of the reason for that is because the older houses, so I'm living in, I say it's an old house, this isn't an old house, I don't think. I mean, all right, the things in it aren't particularly modern, but I don't think it's sort of like, 40 years old. But you have a lot of space. You have a lot of space and a lot of land, and that's potentially why the prices have gone up between this era, because you can always remodel a house, you can always refurbish a house, but you can't buy more land. So it's interesting that houses of that era are more expensive than, say, new build houses. That's probably because new build houses are on a smaller plot. You get less land for your money. Let's keep going. That's interesting. So all of a sudden, between 2000 and 2010, it drops again, right? But does it drop by much? Because the scale changes. That's 3,700 there versus, yeah, of course it is, right? So 6.8. I don't quite understand the logic of that. I'll have to drill into that a bit more. So I'm kind of figuring a lot of this out with you guys tonight. But now, when you look at older builds, so pre-2000, Famagusta, with what's on the market right now, Famagusta is more expensive than Limassol to rent. Now, why the average price out there is $6,500, I do not know. I can only assume that it is all the Airbnbs. But why is it pre-2000 houses the most expensive? Don't know. Maybe it's to do with the land, like I say. Maybe it's to do with the location. Maybe they got a more favorable location with sea views and everything else, and maybe that's why. I'm not sure. Like I said, I'd have to keep digging into the data. But the point of tonight is to show you that if you were thinking of investing or you're thinking of living and renting, it's not always Limassol is the most expensive. It changes depending on where you go, the type of property and everything else. So let's come back to this and we'll just have a quick look at commercial. And you see Limassol's the most expensive. Now, the bedrooms is irrelevant on this, as is bathrooms. But let's just have a look at older commercial units. See, nothing available. Nothing available there. Nothing available there. Okay, so my tool that I built for me and you clearly doesn't work on the years there. Or in fact, it does work, but there won't be any data. There won't be dates of build, I don't think, for commercial properties. I'll have to check that, but the filters are working, but fundamentally, it doesn't look like there's any years listed against commercial buildings. So we can't do that. But what we can do is we should be able to look at size. There we go. So if I pull this down, so this is up to any size at the moment, 1,000 square meters plus. If you wanted a 500 square meter unit. Let's pull this down. Let's just click it up on. That's interesting, isn't it? Paphos is more expensive to rent commercial units around or less than 500 square meters than Limassol. So if you're thinking of renting a commercial unit, actually, surprisingly, Paphos is more expensive. Now, I'd have to look into the data to see what types of commercial units they are, because commercial could be a shop, could be a warehouse, could be a restaurant, could be a whole bunch of things. But fundamentally, Paphos is more expensive. Now, let's go back to houses for this one, and we're going to see what this does. So we're going to bring this down. So at the minute, that's up to 1,000 square meters. Let's be honest, if you've got a house that big, then you're not really worrying about renting. You probably own something of size. Right, there we go. So let's go under 500 square meters. So it's still massive. All of a sudden, though, like a Paphos house is similar to a Limassol house. So let's keep going. Let's go down to, let's say, 250. 250 is still quite a big house. So let's just go down to there. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Because now Paphos is more expensive than Limassol. So if you're trying to get a house for less than 250 square meters, it's more expensive to rent in Paphos than it is in Limassol. Let's keep going. Let's go down to, say, I know, 150. Let's go for a smaller house. Now, Famagusta is more expensive. And again, you have to ask yourself, why? Why is it? And it's, again, this is the sort of thing you need to look at. Because if you're looking to rent, it's going to be the location. It's always, with property, it's always location. Location, location, location. So it's going to be location. It's going to be land that you get with the property that you're buying or renting. Age of the property is clearly coming into play here. But then the location and the type of demographic in that location also comes into play. So for those of you that don't remember, just come back to me for a second. For those of you who don't remember, so Famagusta is very much the tourist side of the island, because not a lot else goes on there. You've got Ayia Napa, you've got Protaras. If you go to Larnaca, that is a little bit more cosmopolitan. You've got the international airport there. You've got a lot of people that will live there. And although people do visit on holiday and things like that, predominantly they either go to Paphos or they go to the Famagusta side. You know, kind of people don't really go to Larnaca on holiday. I mean, you know, they might, but for the most part, the two popular sides are the west and east coast. Same sort of thing with Limassol. The people, you don't go to Limassol on holiday. All right, we do. We go and visit because we live here on the island, but you're not going to fly all the way into Cyprus to then go to Limassol on holiday. Potentially, you know, you'd go normally somewhere else, because normally most people want a beach holiday. So Limassol is more of the business hub, and it's the business district. And then Nicosia, that's very much, it's the capital, but it's not the most expensive. For those of you that didn't see my pricing video, I do break all of this down. But the pricing video on buying houses, let's be specific, Mark. The Nicosia area is very stable, but the returns and the yields are lower there. You know, if you're wanting to sell, the growth and everything was lower there than it would be in, say, Limassol. So your different areas do play a big part. But let's just go back to this here for a second. I'm going to go to apartments now. I'm going to do the same thing, right? So if you're looking at any size apartment, any year constructed, any amount of bedrooms, Limassol is the most expensive, because on average it will be, right? But when you start getting specific, and let's say bring this down now. So let's bring this down to, I don't know, I mean, if there's a 500 square meter apartment, that's going to be one hell of a penthouse. But looking at that, Limassol is the most expensive. Famagusta's pretty expensive. And I'd like to drill into this data myself and go, actually, which are the ones that are $3,500 for 500 square meters? But anyway, let's have a look. Let's keep going down. Let's go to a 200 square meter apartment. All right, what have we got here? So that's going to be, so Famagusta is now creeping ahead. And let's bring it down to a smaller apartment. Let's go down to 100 square meters. And now Limassol's back ahead again. So it's, you know, if you are renting to live, then for me, I personally value more space. I've always valued more space. So I would be looking to come further away from the tourist areas, further away from sort of like the business areas. I would quite happily go more inland to get a better price, because this covers, just to reaffirm. So this covers, remember, the area. So when we're talking about Limassol, it's taking into account this whole area here. You talk about Paphos, it's talking about not just Paphos around by the city, not just the sea caves, but also right up here in Polis and Lachi, where property is a lot cheaper. So it's averages. All of this averages. I should have said this at the start. And then Larnaca, again, you've got all of this region here. Now, a lot of this, like Limassol, goes into the Troodos Mountains. Nicosia covers this region here. Again, it's only looking at properties on the south of south of the UN buffer zone. But predominantly, it could cover all of this. So all of this is averages. So hopefully, that's given you a little bit of food for thought, because like I say, when I first started this, I wanted to do a rental video. I did the purchasing video a couple of weeks ago. When I wanted to do this, I thought it's going to just be Limassol's more expensive, and everybody's going to be, yeah, Mark, we know that. Yeah, I thought that too. I thought I knew that. And now, having done this exercise for you guys, it's even opened my eyes. It's blown me away a little bit in terms of what's out there, what's available, and everything else. What I'm going to start doing is, this is a snapshot of what the market's doing today. I'm going to start tracking this. I'm going to start tracking it month by month, and I'm going to start to see where the trends are. I want to start to see how much this changes over the next 12 months, because there's lots of new developments happening on the island. There's lots of things happening. You've got developments in Larnaca, you've got developments in Paphos coming along. Like the whole island seems to be under development. So I'll be interested to see how this goes. Anyway, that's it for tonight. What I want to do is I want to go to the live Q&A, because I'm expecting people who've got questions, because inevitably people are going to be going, oh yeah, but what about sea caves versus polis, or what about, I don't know, stalled Pisori versus Episcopi. I don't know, whatever it is, people are probably going to want to see certain areas. So anyway, I'm going to come to the Q&A. But as always, before I do that, just going to say, if you are getting value from these videos, then just give it a like and give it a share if you think somebody else will get value from it too. Because when I first moved out to Cyprus, there was nobody really showing this type of content. There was nobody really showing what life was like over and above like top 10 beaches and tax and everything else, So I'm trying to document it now for everybody else. And my only ask is, look, if you think that somebody will get benefit from this, you see people in Facebook groups, whatever, just give it a share. Not just this video, but any of the videos. If you think somebody can benefit from anything I've said, please give it a share to them, because fundamentally, if I share my own videos, then it's self-promotion, and I keep getting my posts deleted in groups. All I'm trying to do is help people. But anyway, apparently it's shameless self-promotion. So there we go. Right, so let's just go to the Q&A. But actually, before we do that, I do just want to give a little quick update on community meetup. So we had the second Cyprus Unfiltered meetup yesterday. And the good news is some people came back from the first meetup, so it couldn't have been that bad, which is nice. But I just want to give a few people a shout out, because it's quite a good turnout this time. And it seems to be getting bigger each time, which is good. So we had Phil, Chet, Espen, thanks for coming, guys. You had Phil, Rumi, Ryan, thanks for coming as well. Stephen and Donna were there. That was the second time for them, which was cool. Alex and Emma, you guys came. That was the second time for you guys as well. So thank you very much. We had Paul and Tamar for the first time. So for those of you, you probably know, because you watch lots of people online. Paul and Tamar have got their own YouTube channel. And if you've never watched it, you should definitely go and watch it, because they do some really good stuff. Again, I never sit here and go, you should just watch me. Fundamentally, my view is just my view. My experience is just my experience. There's lots of people with different varied experiences. So if you're thinking about moving to the country, then watch as many people as you can, get as many different perspectives as you can. The other thing is, people listening to me right now, could be completely grinding on you and grating on you, in which case, screw Mark and go somewhere else. So Paul and Tamar, great video, great channel to go and watch. Same with Brian. So Brian was there yesterday. So thank you very much for coming as well, Brian. Path to Paphos. If you haven't seen his YouTube channel, go and have a look at his content as well. Both of them are bigger channels than I am, so they've got a lot more varied content. Go and check those guys out. And then Chris and Sue came yesterday. So thank you very much, Chris and Sue, for coming. They were first timers, which was great. And they've just started their own YouTube channel as well. I think it's called Cyprus Light. I think that's what it's called. What I would say for everybody I've just called out, if you want to stick your link in the chat, stick it in. It's fine. You just put your link to your channel in. I'm not prissy. I'm not competing with you guys. It's the end of the day. As many people as we can help, the better. So if you've got a channel, stick it in the chat. People can go and view it. And then finally, Martin and Sandra, you guys came as well. So you were first timers for yesterday. So thank you very much for that. Much appreciated. Good seeing you guys. And congratulations on selling the house. We look forward to you guys moving out. It'd be awesome. So yes, anyway, yesterday went well. I think it did anyway. Like I say, if people come back for a third time, I know it's going well. But the next time we do this, we are going to change venue. So it's not going to be the same venue we went to. We went to Barracus Lounge. Went to Barracus Lounge for the 2 times in a row. And yeah, service keeps being a bit sketchy, we're going to change. We're going to change locations. That's fine. And I will put it in the Facebook groups. No, wait, because I don't have a Facebook group. I will put it on my Facebook page and I'll put it on the YouTube comments thing. Whatever. I'll put it online. You guys will figure it out. For a load of you have made it there so far, so you'll figure it out. You'll get there. Anyway, right, let's go to live Q&A because I want to talk to you guys. So let's see who is in the chat tonight and let's see what's been said. So we've got Philip, evening Mark, and Asha from Wales. Is it still raining in Wales? Evening though. Thanks for joining. Philip, good evening Mark from sunny Cheshire. Nice. Oh, glad it's sunny. Thomas Tunes and Travel. Good evening from rainy Cumbria. Oh, well, thanks, Thomas. Appreciate you dialing in. And sorry, it's raining. Andy, expensive Limassol. Andy, cheap Paralimni. Yeah, see, that's what I thought. But as you've seen tonight, right, with Famagusta, it depends. It depends what you're trying to buy because fundamentally, you've got the tourist market there, and the tourist market absolutely puts the prices up. Actually, one thing I should probably say on this is timing changes things as well. So if you are looking to rent a place, I should probably have said this. This is why I like the comments, because then by reading your comments, it reminds me to say the stuff that I should have said and forgot. And if this was a recorded video, I'd be able to just go back and edit it and slip it in, and you guys would be none the wiser. But as always, you get to see me screw up and forget things, and I don't mind telling you that I've forgotten things. I'd rather just be honest. Anyway, so if you are looking to come out to Cyprus and rent ahead of buying a property or building a property or whatever you're doing, what I would say is the timing of this is very specific. So you got to remember now, this data was live. It's June. We are coming into peak tourist season. It's July. We're coming into peak tourist season. Prices inevitably are going to go higher because they're either going to put the prices up on a rental basis or they're going to go onto Airbnb. And so a lot of landlords at the moment, because tourism is down on the island, a lot of people that would ordinarily have rented their properties through Airbnb and everything else, they can't because tourism is down about 30% just because of this Iranian thing that happened, because this non-incident that happened on the island, you know, with this drone that kind of caused no damage and everything else. It's absolutely shook the Cypriot tourism industry this year. And it's a shame because nothing's happening. For those of you that live here on the island, it's safe. Nothing's happening. So anyway, the timing is obviously dependent on the prices, but also take the conflict away. When we were looking to rent out here, we were looking from about February, March onwards, but we weren't going to put any deposits down or anything like that because we weren't moving until the August. So we were just looking, but we weren't getting in touch with people and we weren't wasting people's time. We were just looking. And what I found was that the closer you get to the summer, the more expensive the prices go because fundamentally they either want to get it rented out or it's going to go on Airbnb. And the thing is, when that happens, if it does go on Airbnb on a normal year without an Iranian conflict, then you start to get less stock through the summer because if a landlord hasn't rented their house out, then they typically Airbnb it to get some money back in, and all of a sudden there's less stock available. So we were talking to a guy, it was a guy in Coral Bay actually when we were reviewing the property there. And he said that if he hasn't rented it by the end of April, he'll just stick it on Airbnb. That was his ethos. Now, there'll be a lot of people that do that. But then if you are coming here through the summer, if you are then able to wait until maybe October, November before you rent your property, well, the Airbnb season is kind of gone. You know, the peak tourist season is gone. People are winding down for the year. You know, yes, people might come out for a bit of winter sun or whatever, but, you know, for the most part, the main peak season's done. So more houses come back on the market and therefore there's more available. And if there's more available, the prices come down. So just saying, the price will be dependent on the time the year you're looking to buy. You'll probably find you get a better deal after the summer rather than now trying to rent in the summer because you'll find that probably prices are more expensive. Not to say that you can't get a good deal because some people won't want to do Airbnb at all. They'll just be like, no, I don't want guests. I just want, you know, somebody that's stable. I want a family in there and I want them for the next 2 years, whatever. Cool. You'll always get somebody like that. But, you know, the stock does change depending on the year. Just wanted to point that out. But yeah, thanks, Andy. Jonathan Ramsey, 77. Hey, Mark, first time catching you live, watching from Oxfordshire. Thanks, Jonathan. Good to have you on. Probably Limassol most expensive, Larnaca area cheapest. Yeah, again, I think most people will say Limassol most expensive, although actually, Raphael, on the next comment. Nicosia most expensive, then Limassol cheapest. Polis, not Polish, Polis. But that's fine. Yeah. So a couple of things here. So again, if you haven't seen the video that I did, I don't know how long ago, it was maybe 3 weeks ago, because people were talking about doing one on rentals, which is why I'm doing this. But I did a video about 3 weeks ago on buying a house in Cyprus, and again, break down the areas in a bit more detail as to what each area does. But yeah, fundamentally, I would have thought that Nicosia being the capital, if I knew nothing about the country, the capital cities you'd expect are always the most expensive wherever you go. You go to London, it's the most expensive city in the UK. So I always thought Nicosia would be more expensive than it is, but it's not. Interesting. But yeah, thanks for joining, Jonathan. Much appreciated. And Raphael, am I pronouncing that correctly? Raphael. I can't. I've got Ninja Turtles in my head now. I'm really sorry. Anyway, right. Thanks for joining in both. My username is Jeff. Love that. My name is Jeff. I'm going to do that every time you dial in. Good evening, Mark. Jeff and Sharon, South Wales. Thanks for joining both. Good to have you on. Thomas Tunes and Travels. Expensive Limassol. Cheapest Nicosia, presumably. Interesting. Interesting. What is interesting is everybody's perception. It is all slightly different. Nobody's saying anything about Paphos yet. Chris, learn Greek 42. We need to speak. Chris, learn Greek 42. I need to learn Greek. Need to learn it properly. Right. In the summer, Nicosia is pretty much unlivable. The humidity is insane. I'm in Larnaca, which has become expensive because the spillover from Limassol. I remember cheap Cyprus pound days. Yes. So I like telling stories on this channel. So Chris, I agree. Although I'll be honest, I agree with pretty much everything you said. But I'm going to disagree with one thing. So the humidity in Cyprus does get pretty crazy in the summer. And we were just talking to some friends yesterday at this meetup, and they were saying, Cyprus is getting really hot. And we're sitting there and there's still a cool breeze. Like we're down in Paphos and there is still a cool breeze. And like, I haven't seen anything yet. When the humidity comes, you can't dry. You're just sticky all the time. But what we find is that when Paphos is really humid, so it could be like 32, 33, and you're sticky all the time. When we go to Nicosia, it is insanely hot, but it feels more like a dry heat. It always feels like there's less humidity there. It always feels like when you open the oven door and you get hit by the dry heat from the oven, like a sauna, that's what it feels like to me. But anyway, the thing I do agree with you on for sure is the cheap Cyprus pound days. So when we first came out here in 2011, so me and my wife came on this honeymoon, and it wasn't really a honeymoon. It was just, we called it honeymoon because when we got married in 2010, we got married in Poland, and all of our friends stayed in Poland. So they came out, they flew out for the wedding, and then they stayed in Poland for a week or so. And the last thing we wanted to be doing was sitting on a beach in Cancun or the Maldives, and all of our friends are back in Poland. So we just didn't do a honeymoon. We just stayed with our friends and kind of, celebrated with everybody still. So then the following year we went on holiday and we're like, well, I guess this is kind of the honeymoon. So anyway, we came to Cyprus for our honeymoon. I remember we were in a bunch of grapes in Pisori, and the restaurant is still there now. Really nice place for those of you that have never been. You should go to a bunch of grapes in Pisori. And they still had the old Cypriot pound prices in the menu versus the euros. And the pounds was not infinitely cheaper, that'd be stupid. It was a lot cheaper, a lot cheaper than euros. And of course they wanted to pay in euros, but because it had both prices in the menu, I remember joking with a guy going, can I pay in pounds? No, we only take euros now. I'm like, well, then update your bloody menu, because you're making me know that I'm being ripped off now, because actually the Cypriot pound's crazy cheap and now the euros isn't. But anyway, so yes, I agree. Karen, good evening, Mark. I've noticed that rental prices of property in Paphos have gone up since I started looking last year. Yeah, they absolutely have. So I was telling this story yesterday. Our landlord of this house, so they wanted to put the price up again mid-contract. Now this time around we signed a contract for 2 years, and they tried to put the price up, and I dug my heels in because I said, what's the point of a 2-year contract otherwise? Anyway, I remember speaking to the agent who found me this place, because I know he has a good relationship with my landlord, and I wanted to give him the heads up because I thought, well, look, I don't suffer fools gladly in that sense. And I don't like people trying to rip me off. I don't try and rip other people off. So I hate it when people try and rip me off. And so because she was looking to potentially go against the contract, I called up the agent who I knew, like I say, had a good relationship with the landlord or landlady. And I said, look, just to make you aware, this has happened. If she digs her heels in and breaks the contract, I'm also going to break the contract and I will go. And he said, thank you very much for letting me know. He offered to go to bat for me, which he didn't need to because I dealt with it on my own, but he offered to, which was awesome. And he said, no problem. But he said, Mark, just to make you aware, if we were to relet your property now, bear in mind, this has only been a year since this point. If we were to relet your property now, the same property, it was actually going to go up by 1,200 euros to what we pay right now. And he says, we'll get it all day long. I was like, wow. So now we just, we're quite grateful that we're in this house. And even if the rent went up 7%, well, then it's not a deal breaker because, as you say, Karen, the prices have gone up massively. And yeah, I don't know what's happened in the last 12 months, but they've gone up a lot. Right. Mike Cummings. Evening, Mike. Evening, Joanne, if you're watching. Evening, Mark. Was thinking that we would rent long term, but watching the way the rents are increasing, I'm seriously considering purchasing now, which wasn't the initial plan. Well, Mike, I would still say rent because if you rent long term, let's say you do a 2-year contract as an example, well, the contract is the contract. And like I've discovered with my landlord, they were saying, oh no, well, it goes up 7% every year. I was like, well, I checked my contract and there was nothing written in the contract that says it's going to go up 7% every year. So it might be an expectation if you're not in contract, which I totally get. I would expect the same myself if I was renting something out and it was just a rolling contract. But if you sign a fixed deal for 2 years, it's a fixed deal for 2 years. So don't let it put you off, Mike. I would say still rent. If you can find something that you like for a reasonable price, just make sure Cyprus is right for you. Make sure the area is right for you, because if you go ahead and buy something first, it could take you a while to sell it. And then you could be stuck in an area that you don't like. You might have neighbors that you don't like, or you might be next to an Airbnb, or there could be a whole host of things that annoy you. So my personal view would be still stick with your plan, come and rent for a bit, and then look to buy something later on. That would be my view. If I was doing it again, I'd still take the same approach. I know some people have come out here and just bought. That's cool. That's, everybody's got a different risk tolerance. For me, I want flexibility. And so I would always rent coming to a new country before I try and buy something. That's just me. Krish. It's actually Chris H. I remember this from last week. Chris, good to meet you. I'm glad you clarified that, Krish. I wasn't speaking with an accent. I actually thought your name was Krish. I didn't know what it stood for. Anyway, Chris H., thanks for joining. Yeah, the hysteria over one drone hitting the Akrotiri runway has been silly. I really hate the media. Yes, me too. We were talking about this yesterday at the meetup, that you watch the news in the UK and it makes you miserable because they never report anything good. And the reason for that is because fear sells. If you read 2 newspaper articles and one of them said somebody's been stabbed on the tube and the other one said commuter makes his way to work uneventfully, which one attracts your attention more? Right? You want to read about the guy that got stabbed. Don't know why, but that's the one that sells. So unfortunately, they only ever report the bad stuff. They never really report anything good. And that's a shame. So I stopped reading mainstream media. I literally, the news I have on my phone, it's all tech news. It's all car news. It's all right. Actually, there is one difference to that now. I do subscribe to Cypriot media, which, again, like all media is slightly biased. But the reason why I subscribe to it is because, one, it's not all negative, which is a good thing. You get lots of happy news in the Cypriot media, but also keeps me abreast of what's going on here. It's a small island. If something's going off in other parts of the island, I can just drive to it. It's cool. But for the most part, I don't subscribe to mainstream media. Like, I don't read anything from the US. I don't read anything from the UK. Like, what's the point? The BBC is biased as hell. And you just think, if it's important, somebody will tell me. That's the way I look at it. Same thing with this whole Iranian thing. I didn't hear about it in the news. Somebody told me. I'm like, okay, well, thanks for telling me. If it's important, somebody will tell you. And if it's not, then just go about your life, because otherwise you'll be fretting about everything you see and everything you read and everything you hear. James, how easy is it to negotiate the advertised rent? Oh, that's a good question, James. Well, it's like anything. Everything's negotiable. The terms are negotiable, the duration, what's included will be negotiable. Everything's negotiable because there's no hard and fast rule for it. What I would say is if you see something that you like, there is no harm in negotiating. Depends though, again, time of year and everything else. If they've got a load of tenants that are snapping and chomping at the bit and wanting that property, then they are going to be less likely to want to negotiate any discounts than if it's a flat spot for them. The other thing to bear in mind is that I say most, you've got to look at what incentivizes people to take a pay cut. Because that's basically what they're doing, right? They've got a property, they earn an income from it, and by you discounting it, they're getting a pay cut from what they were expecting. So if a landlord would prefer a decent family over maximum revenue, then you've got a chance, depending on your circumstances. You know, if you're a single guy just looking to rent a place, quite often landlords will favor families because families are more stable. Families don't like to move around, whereas a single guy or a nomad might. So you might find you've got less negotiating power there. But it shouldn't stop you trying. Absolutely shouldn't stop you trying. What I would say is the more you can speak to the landlord, probably the better you'll be, because you think if you go through an agent on this, if you go through an agent, they will take a commission from a landlord based on the revenue that comes in. So let's just say, and I'm making these figures up now, but let's say a property is £2,000 a month and they take 10% commission for managing that property. So they get €200 a month. If you then knock them down to, I'm making this up and I'm exaggerating it for the example, but let's say you knock them down to 50 and €100. Well, now their €200 a month turns into 150. So they're not even incentivized to want to help you negotiate, right? Again, that's not the same with everybody, but the bigger agents for sure. Actually, the agent I went with for this house, he did help me negotiate, which was great. So fair play to him. It's all up for negotiation, and it's going to be 100% vendor determined because different people want different things. Some people, and it amazes me how many people do this. Let's say they are trying to hold out for a higher price. They would rather let the property sit empty. So let's say that somebody wants £3,000 a month and they can't get it. People are offering them 2.8 and they're like, no, I'd rather get three. But then they'll leave it and it'll be empty. It'll be void for another month. And then you think, well, you've just lost €3,000 instead of €200. How many months do you then need to recoup that €200 every month you've got a void? So again, landlords don't like voids typically. For the most part, you do get some people out here where they've got so much money that the properties it's just there. They're counting on inflation and they're counting on capital increase of the property value more so than rental income. They don't need the rental income, so they don't really care. Probably better for them to not have the property trashed. But anyway, to answer the question directly, everything's negotiable and it's going to be very dependent on who you're talking to and so on and so forth. So just try. There's no harm in asking, is there? And it might be that they don't discount the price, but it might be that they put some furniture in. That's the other thing. They don't necessarily decrease the price, but they increase the value that you get for your money. Maybe you could negotiate pool maintenance in if there isn't pool maintenance or garden maintenance in. Just say, look, I get you can't move the price down. Could you throw in garden maintenance instead? Because the chances are they'll probably know somebody anyway, and they could do it for you. So they, always look to negotiate something if you want to. For me, it depends. If I see a fair price, I don't like to screw people on price. I look at it and go, as somebody in business, I look at it and go, people still have to make a living. People are still trying to, earn an income. So I have no issue with people making profit. I don't have an issue with that at all. I think if people are taking the mick and trying to pull the wool over your eyes, I have a massive issue with that. But I think, if I think something's a fair price, I don't necessarily haggle and negotiate. I hate it when you go to these places and you see predominantly tourists haggling at these markets, where people have got nothing. And I'm not talking about Cyprus now, I'm just talking about generally. You'll go to these countries where, British people are inherently rich. Like you go to India or somewhere like that, you always hear these stories about people haggling and you're like, literally, it's worth nothing to you, but you're still beating the poor guys down on price. Why? Again, it's just my opinion. By all means negotiate. I have no issue with negotiation, getting a fair deal. But, again, if you think it's a fair deal anyway, then you just go for it. Thomas, right. So I had to look for the comments. Thomas, is it possible to rent a property like a 4-bed villa and run a guest house using it? We are experienced hotel managers looking to relocate to Cyprus next year. We have EU passports. Well, this is an interesting one, Thomas, because what you're talking about there essentially is a bit like in the UK, you have like rent to rent and you're subletting it basically. What I would say is, unless you've got that strictly written in the contract, don't do it, because like in the UK, if subletting is written out and you do it, then you are breaching that contract and you put yourself in a whole heap of pain. It will be landlord specific again. So I know my first landlord, they were owners of 2 villas, and my neighbor in the other villa, at the point they were looking to sign, because their property that they were in, it was like a 3-bed downstairs and a self-contained apartment upstairs, which I think they used as like an office and other things as well. And what they did was, when they were looking to sign, he said, oh, by the way, we're looking to rent out the top part, or we're wanting to rent out the top part, just effectively to reduce their own rents, because you can rent the whole building, rent out the top, never use it, reduces your rent, you've got some income coming in. And from what he told me, the landlord went absolutely nuclear, because he thought that he was trying to pull the wool over his eyes, thought that he was trying to, screw him over and everything else. And the landlord just would not entertain Airbnb whatsoever. Didn't want to do short-term lets, didn't want to allow subletting of any kind. So I've never done rent to rent out here. And that's really the only example I've heard of somebody trying to do it. Again, everything's negotiable. So speak to the landlord, tell him about your experience, show him what you've done in the UK. If you've got a portfolio still, show him what you're doing and that you're experienced doing it. And, maybe you come to an agreement, maybe there's a rev share, maybe he gets a little bit of extra something from it, maybe he gets a 10% on top or something. I don't know. Again, it's all negotiable. So could you do it? Theoretically, yes. Would you be able to do it? Very landlord specific. Don't know. Chris, Nicosia weather this year the best? Oh, is it? So I haven't actually been to Nicosia for a little while. I like Nicosia. I like it a lot. And I haven't been for a little while. Why is it the best, Chris? Is it because it's not too hot, or is it because, I don't know, why is it the best? Chris, okay. So that Learn Greek account is an alt of mine to watch Greek content so I can learn. I worked in the middle of nowhere in Kazakhstan for a while. Trust me, you don't know dry heat. Ha. So hang on a minute. So am I getting this right, Chris? You've got 2 accounts. So the other account is yours. So you either watch it or you own it. And if you own it, it means you've dialed in twice. You've got me in like stereo. You've got me on 2 TVs because you've got 2 accounts and you logged in. You can just put headphones on. No, I don't really understand. Maybe, but anyway, yeah, Kazakhstan, I've never been to anything that ends in Stan. So I assume that it's all very hot out there anyway. I assume that was the case. Been to Malaysia. Over in Asia, and I tell you what, the humidity over there is on a whole new level. Heat is on a whole new level. In fact, I remember it's turned into Malaysia Unfiltered. And I remember I was in several cars out there at the time, and the heaters in Malaysia, very strange. So the old style cars that used to have with like the analog dials for heat. So you turn it from blue to red. Well, the cars out there, they had blue and more blue. They didn't have a heater. They didn't have any red on the heater at all. So you could be driving along in the middle of winter, it could be 2 a.m, and it'd be 27 degrees outside. And if you were cold because you've had your aircon on too much, you warmed up by opening the window. Now, as somebody from Britain, that was totally alien to me. But yeah, that's how you warmed up over there. So I assume that that's a similar thing here. But even here, the heat here, you can warm up by opening the window. Like we went to the water park today, and you get in the car, it's hot, and you're driving along, you got a hot breeze, and the moment somebody opens the window, just all the heat comes barreling in anyway. So, yeah. Karen, I remember the Bunch of Grapes restaurant from when I was stationed in Episcopi 30 years ago. Good to hear it's still going. Bloody hell. Well, I must admit, Karen, I was impressed it was still going from 2011 to 2022 when we came back, when we did the trial living. So the fact it's been there 30 years, that's even more impressive. Yeah, it's still going. Ferry and Monica. Hey, Ferry. Hey, Monica. And hey, Oliver, if you're watching as well. Hello, Mark. We enjoyed a heat wave in UK recently. As we didn't have AC, we couldn't wait when the nights cool down so we can sleep better? Is the feeling similar in Cyprus, waiting for cooler evenings? Well, two parts to this. I was also in the UK recently because I went there for my son's birthday. And I think I'm the only person in the history of anybody alive to go to Hinckley on holiday, right? But anyway, we went to Hinckley, we went to Nuneaton on holiday. This is what happens when you live where people holiday. Then you start going to Hinckley on holiday, you know. So anyway, we were there and it was hot and it was nice and it was sweaty, you know, but it was nice. I liked it anyway. But yeah, our friends were all dying in the evening. And for us, we just opened the window, had the fan on. It's fine. You know, we've kind of acclimatized to it. It wasn't humid. You know, it wasn't humid at all. It was fine. So you come out here now, and the evenings are lovely at the moment because the humidity isn't here. Like I was saying to people yesterday when they were saying, "Oh wow, the heat's come now. The heat's coming along." The humidity isn't here yet. You know, if you think it's hot and uncomfortable now, wait till the humidity comes and you go down to the seafront and you are sticky all the time. You know, it's not necessarily a nice feeling. So do we wait for cooler evenings? I mean, it's different out here because you've got the AC on. I've got the AC on right now. And it's just different. You know, the AC dries the air anyway. And so you're living in air conditions. So actually, if you want it to be, your sleeping here will be way more comfortable than it is in the UK. I'm going to say this again, actually, for those of you that do run with the aircon, only because it was mentioned to me yesterday that it was really helpful. So I'll say it again in case people haven't heard it. But for those of you that are in Cyprus, if you are sleeping with the air conditioning on, then most people, like when you get in your car and it's too hot, you'll just stick it on low and you just want it to cool down as quick as possible. And if I was in the UK, we used to have our heating set to 20 degrees all year round. And it used to really annoy me if you heard the heating click on in the summer. Like you'd hear the heating, the boiler fires up because the thermostat's gone below 20 in August. And you're like, nope, turn that off. So 20 degrees feels like a nice temperature. But if you set your air conditioning to 20 degrees here and you go to sleep, you are freezing and your electricity bills go right up. So we set our air conditioning to 26 and we sleep, like my aircon's on 26 right now. And you'd think 26 would be hot, but I'm dry as a bean because the air's dry and it's not hot. 26 degrees on your air conditioning unit isn't hot. And if you go outside and you come into a room that has been cooled to 26 degrees on your air conditioning, it feels like you're walking into a fridge anyway. It feels so much cooler than outside. So if you want to save on cost, you want to be more comfortable at night, don't set your AC to 20 degrees, set it to like 26. Try it. If you don't believe me, just try it one night and you'll be like, wow, that's really cool. Honestly, and it's a really comfortable night's sleep. So anyway, hopefully that answers the question, Ferry and Monica. Chris, I would say in Cyprus, everything is negotiable, but they are tough negotiators. Yeah, well, yes. So the thing is, they will be, and I guess it doesn't help that we're not Greek. You know, we can't speak Greek. I know Cyprus is very easy to integrate because everybody speaks English, but I'm pretty sure, like anywhere you would go in the world, because we're foreign, because we're immigrants, and we don't speak the language, or we don't speak, we speak English, we don't speak the local language, Greek. I'm sure we will get ripped off. You know, I've read stories of people getting ripped off in garages because the price went up, basically because, they spoke English, but they understood a bit of Greek, and the price had gone up because they were English, or they thought they were just an English expat rather than, somebody that could speak Greek. So it's always going to be more difficult to negotiate, but you're not just dealing with Greeks. There's other people out here as well. So there's lots of people on the island. Just try. All I can say is just try. What's the worst that happens? They say no, and you pay the same price on the ticket anyway. So, wow, there's lots of chats coming through tonight. I can't even scroll up. There we go. Right, come back. Karen, I'm assuming, Mark, that a rental contract is legally binding in Cyprus. Is there a need to involve a solicitor? I mean, you could. Did we? No. If they are legally binding, yes. It would be remiss of me to say that contract itself would give me a lot of protection if it went nasty and sour. And the reason why I say that is because let's say you needed to argue a point on the contract. this is where anything formal, I talked about this last week, anything formal that you try and do in Cyprus is slow. And if you try and take somebody to court, that can be extremely slow. And it could be anywhere between 3 and 5 years before anything happens. So while you're technically might be in the right, in that time, you've probably made your life a living hell by arguing with the landlord and everything else. So, you might be right, but sometimes peace is better than being right. And unfortunately, because of the way things are here, just because you're right doesn't mean that you're going to get the outcome that you want, at least not for a long time. So, should you involve a solicitor? I didn't. We did check through the contract, though. What I would say is in this day and age, you can just run it through ChatGPT and see where it leaves you open. Like we had some things changed in our contract for this house, for instance. And while I haven't had to fight anything off in court or anything else, because I'm the sort of person that, like I say, if somebody tries to screw me anyway, I'm just not interested. Like people can lie to me once and then they won't lie to me again because I just won't trust them. And so with the landlord doing this the first time round in the old house, even though he then backtracked and said, okay, fine, it'll just be 10% instead of like, what was it, 100%, and tried to put it up, 100, no, tried to put it 50%, and he backtracked to 10. I just lost all trust at that point. It's like, nah, I'm good. So with this house, I didn't have to take anything to court. I didn't have to involve solicitors. But when the landlady said it's 7%, it's standard across the board, I did push back and I referenced the contract and then she backed down. So it must have some power. A contract is a contract for a reason. It must have some power. And she was very decent about it. She was like very much cool. No, that's absolutely fine. We can sort something out next year. Now, next year, it might go up 50%. We'll see, won't we? But the contract did help me in this occasion. That's a really woolly answer, though, to your question. Hopefully it gives you some value, but you don't have to involve a solicitor. Don't pay to go and get a solicitor involved because I just don't think it's worth it. As long as you're comfortable with what's written. If you're not comfortable with something that's written, work on the basis that the contract is watertight in that, let's assume you had to go to court, then make the contract say what you want it to say, but don't rely on it, because just because you've got something written in the contract, if it goes sour, you may be just better to walk away anyway. Like I say, sometimes peace is better than being right. Perrier Lang, house sale fallen through in UK, so had to cancel shippers, etc. Right, pain. Oh man, that sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. Huh. But very good. Shippers most probably face the same issue all the time. Yeah, but that's a pain though, isn't it? I mean, luckily we didn't have that restriction. When we moved, we had our house on the market in the UK and we came out here. It didn't sell for like a year or something. It was a bit annoying, but that is a pain for you. So apologies that not cool. What's the fallback plan? Can you rent it, or you got to wait to sell it? I mean, I think with the way the rent has gone in the UK, I personally wouldn't want to rent anything these days. It's not where I'm at anymore. But anyway, hopefully you get it sold again soon. Fingers crossed for you. Lee Clark. Hi, Lee. Hi, Lou, if you're watching. Thanks for tuning in. Hi, Mark. Prices do seem to be getting a bit ridiculous. Hopefully they hit the ceiling soon, or can imagine some people will be moving somewhere else. Yeah, see, the problem is, Lee, I mean, you're right, but the problem is that people are still paying it. People can still afford to pay it, right? You have a lot of people coming here for tax benefits. And as a result, the people that are coming here for tax benefits typically will earn more than the local Cypriots. So the poor Cypriots get priced out of their own market because all of a sudden you've got people like you and me coming in, anybody watching this channel, immigrants coming in. And if we're paying the rent that they're charging and they're asking for, well, then why would they charge less? Because they can get it from people like us. So I think, unfortunately, it's one of these things where it just spirals up. Now, does there come a point when people stop saying, I'm going to not pay more? Maybe. But the guy that rented this house, or like I say, the agent I went through for this house, he was telling me about some of his clients. He didn't name names or anything, but he was saying that some of his clients had given him budgets of like $7,000. 7,000 euros a month to rent a place, and he couldn't find them anything because there wasn't much stock available. And you just think that's madness. Like, people are paying 7 grand a month for rent. Now, to some people, 7 grand a month is nothing, right? To a local, 7 grand a month could be like, 4 or 5 months' wages, their salary. It's all relative, but I think the problem at the moment, Lee, is that you've got a lot of people that are still coming to the island. A lot of people are still paying the rents, and therefore landlords are not incentivized to charge less. And that's the unfortunate truth of the matter, is that, so people can't afford to live. The people that have lived there all their entire lives now can't afford to live, because people like us come in and push the prices up, unfortunately. I'm not meaning to laugh, but we're coming in, and I'll be honest, like, the rent here, it kind of sickens me a little bit, because one of the places that we looked at moving to, or not looked at, but we would move to, if Cyprus didn't work out for any reason, the next place we would go is Poland, because we've got my wife's family there. I like Poland as a country anyway. It's a beautiful place, and it's really nice, and it's also really safe, and we would go there. But for the rent that we're paying here versus what you'd pay in Poland, like, you could rent a flipping huge place in Poland for what we're paying here. You'd probably rent a castle, So yeah, the rental market is a shame. Honestly, that was one of the biggest shocks I had when coming out here to the island. Like I thought, when everybody talks about, the cost of living in Cyprus is cheap. No, it's not. Some things is cheap. A lot of things are bloody expensive. And so when I came out and we were paying, our first rental property was 2 grand a month. Honestly, I was looking at adverts before I came out of all these properties on, for those of you who have been looking at properties, you'll have found that the agents' websites are all out of date. And so you've still got properties on there from a few years ago, like €800. So I'm thinking in my head, I'll probably be spending about £1 a month, and I'll get something decent with a pool or whatever. But those prices are from times gone by. Like, now, all of a sudden, it was 2 grand a month. I was like, that's just, it's expensive, I pay more than that now. But even that was a pill to swallow, where you go, that's more than my mortgage was in the UK, and I had a 4-bed detached in the UK in a very nice area. And now I'm renting, paying more than what was there, it's just one of those, isn't it? It is more expensive, and it is unfortunate. But yeah, the cost of rent surprised the hell out of me. Perrier Lang, Mark, as a motorhead, bringing over a Ford Puma a couple of years old, any recommendations for local car service companies in Casanegra? Okay, so the answer to that is no, unfortunately, but I can recommend you another place. Let me pull up the maps. And let me go to this. Right. So the reason why I say no to Casanegra, if somebody knows somebody in Casanegra, by the way, then by all means go there. But I'm going to tell you about another place. So bear in mind, we're in Tyler, right? When you come over here, you've got the motorway. It takes you onto the A6. Now, if you come to the roundabout, you've got Alpha Mega on the roundabout. You come down here, you've got Super Home Centre, you've got McDonald's, and you've got this new shopping centre, this neon mall that's expanded recently. Well, just below that, as you come past the McDonald's, you get to this roundabout, you've got, I think it's the Keo factory, and I think there's Coca-Cola somewhere there as well. And you come to this, and honestly, like, the estate is freaking horrible. Look at this. I'm going to show you this. Like, Mike, why are you showing me a horrible estate? It looks like a graveyard for cars. The only way I could explain it. When I was coming down here, they've actually, this was in the press recently, because they've had to tidy it all up. Loads of people getting fined. But I said, see, this isn't doing it justice. Whenever I try and show you guys anything on Street View, it never does it justice. So basically, all down here used to be, and I thought it would be still, but anyway, all down here is like a car graveyard. And anyway, I thought I wouldn't want to take my car anywhere to a place down here. But if you keep coming down, you have, oh, gone too far. Go back. You have this place, which is CCMS Limited. Now, the reason why I'm telling you about this place, and I get nothing from this, by the way, but this is where I take my car, where I take my cars. So go to this place here, and I'll just show where it is on the map. So you come down that road, and it is this one. So the guys that own it, Really cool guys. You see, look at that. It's only got 2 reviews, 5 stars each, probably from their mates. But let me give you a review of them. So even if I knew somewhere in Kissonegra or I can never pronounce that. Somebody tell me how to say that. My wife always takes the mick out of me for saying it wrong. Kissonegra. Kissonegra. I think that's it. Right. Even if I knew somewhere in Kissonegra, the guy I bought my car off here in Cyprus, he's a guy from Aphrodite's Hills. And I won't say too much about him, but he's got a business. He imports a lot of cars. He has a fleet of 17 cars in his business. I think a lot of them will come through Pan Motors, but he takes them all to this garage. The car that I bought from the island, even though I bought it in Cyprus, it was an English owned car. So I could check the MOT history using the English plates all the way up until the point it was exported to Cyprus. And then the rest of the receipts and the service history and everything else came from this garage. And he said he wouldn't take his car anywhere else. I was like, okay, cool. Well, in that case, he knows the history of my car. Take it, and he can do it and let him service it. So anyway, I've gone back to him ever since. He's got all the Mercedes star diagnostics. He's got the BMW diagnostics. He's got the Land Rover diagnostics, and he is very, very good at, one, diagnosing the problem, two, not ripping you off. And what I mean by that, and you might say, well, how do you know, Mark? You speak English. He seems to be as straight as they come when it comes to prices and everything else. Is he the cheapest? No. But when he says something needs doing, I believe him. One, because the reference from this other guy who puts all his cars through, and bear in mind, this guy's English as well. But two, because he's very transparent about when things don't need doing. So I've gone in thinking my brake discs had needed doing at one point, and he says, no, you don't need to do that. He says, we can just skim them for you. And then I've gone in with other things. He's gone, no, they're fine. You'll get another X amount of time out of it. So he won't change things just for the sake of changing things. So I really like him. And he found things on my Mercedes that even the people in the UK didn't find. Like my Mercedes went into the main dealer a couple of times in the UK, and it got into a Mercedes specialist for something, and literally took it to this guy here at this garage. Guy's name's Everos, by the way, if anybody wants to reach out to him. And again, I get nothing for mentioning him. He's just a good guy. But I took my car down to him, and he found something in the footwell that had been rewired wrong, and somebody had tried to do something in the past, and it literally came across it. And he says, no, he says it would give you an error, but he says there's no symptoms for it, but he says, but we've corrected it anyway. Like, holy crap. Like, talk about finding a needle in a haystack. So anyway, yeah, I really like him. And the other thing as well is that because Land Rover being what it is, for those of you with Land Rovers or bring anything over, in fact, I know there's people watching this who've got some Land Rovers. So I take mine to him, and he's very open and said, like, Mark, you can get it cheaper elsewhere. Like, if you buy it through me, it's going to cost this because the import cost to the island. So as an example, my air suspension went. I always knew it was going to go at some point. And to get certain components on the air suspension, it was going to be thousands of euros here if you went through Land Rover or a specialist here, or for somebody else to import it on the island. Instead, I've got some suppliers that I now use in Europe, so you can import it without paying VAT. And I imported it for the cost of importing everything. Like, I got all 4 suspension struts and everything, and it was a fraction of the price of what I was going to pay out here, and it's all German parts. It wasn't like it was some cheap sort of Chinese imports. It was, German parts from a German supplier. It was great. And so what this guy then does is just like, I'll send him the link to the parts, and I go, is this the one? And he checks it all, and he'll either say, yes, that's the one, or no, it's not that one. You need to find it. It's got to say this, or it's got to do this. So he checks all the parts for me, and he's like, yeah, cool. Just ship it straight to me and I'll fit them. So he doesn't even force me to use his parts. Like, if I can get them cheaper, he lets me use them cheaper. It's like, he's a great guy. So anyway, I could have just said, no, I don't know anywhere in Kissonegra, but that's my recommendation instead. If you're looking for somewhere to go to that guy because he's great. Like I say, he won't be the cheapest. I'm sure you'll find cheaper somewhere else. But for now, that's where I'm going. He's not done me a bad service in 2.5 years. So that's where I'll keep going. Chris, Thomas Tunes and Travels. I would point out in Cyprus, if you rent a place out, you have to pay the estimated VAT for the next year up front. I would point out in Cyprus, if you rent a place out, you have to pay the estimated VAT for the next year up front. What do you mean by that, Chris? Because I don't pay any VAT here. Are you talking about if you buy a new build and rent a new build? Because you're not going to pay VAT on a rental property. And if you bought a second-hand property, you're not paying VAT on that either. You only pay VAT on new builds. I'm not sure what you mean by that. I'd be interested to know. Lee retracted message. James, with a large family, will need a 5 or 6 bedroom villa. How difficult are they to find? Is it better to use a letting agent or deal directly with landlords? Well, James, I think agents won't like me for saying this. I always prefer to deal directly with a landlord if I could, because you're just going out the middleman. You know you're going to be getting the best price from the landlord. If anything goes wrong, you've got a direct line to the landlord. Like agents, I'm going on my experience here in the UK. Agents in the UK can be a freaking nightmare because you don't know what they're telling you is the truth. They will blame the landlord for things. Like you will you say something's broken, and then they will either do something or not do something, and then they'll blame the landlord, right? I know that's true because I've had several instances in the past where I've got a direct line to the landlord as well, and they will report back the agents aren't telling them things. So I like to go direct where possible. You'll probably get a better price because they're not paying 10% commission or whatever they would pay to an agent. And also, you will property is a people game. People do business with people, and you've got to think they own a property. It is business for them, right? People don't like to see it like that. People think that they're entitled to a house and everything else. Well, no, for the owner of the property, it's a business, and they're trying to make money on it. It's why they bought it in the first place. And I just think that if you are speaking directly to the landlord and they can see that you're a reasonable person and everything else, you've got a big family by the sounds of it, you're going to get more flexibility, and you're probably going to get a better service going directly than having to go through a middleman. That would just be my view. So is it better to go directly or via an agent? I would always try and go direct if I can. However, there's always a however. Agents will cover like the whole market. You'll have agents that cover Paphos or agents that cover Limassol. And if you're living abroad and you're living in the UK or wherever you're from right now, if you haven't moved there yet, you might have to use an agent because they will provide other services that a landlord might not provide, such as doing remote video viewings, things like that. They would do different services, or they will potentially offer different services. Sorry, I'm just going to turn my air conditioning off. See, 26 degrees in here. I'm freezing. So, yeah, depending on your circumstances, or if you're not even sure where you want to live, like agents are going to cover the areas better. If you go to a bigger agent, like you go to the ones that cover the whole island, then you're going to get a much more accurate view, from those guys, because they'll know about properties potentially that aren't even on the market yet. Because landlords, if they only ever work with an agent because they just want to be hands off, then they'll probably be telling agents when they've got property coming along, or if they've got somebody that's handed in their notice, and they've kind of given up. You think if an agent works with a landlord regularly and they've had a tenancy coming to an end, that might not be on the market yet. So by going through an agent, you might get an off-market deal that isn't even registered or advertised on a website or on Facebook or on Bazaraki or anywhere like that. So again, they both serve a purpose. I wouldn't say use one over the other, but I mean, I like to go direct to the landlord if I can. That being said, both of the ones here, no, that's not true. The first one was direct to landlord, although I did use an agent to help me find the house, but then everything that was contracted direct. In fact, actually, let's think about this now. All of my contracts are direct to landlord, and there's no managing agent in the contracts, the first one or the second one. In the UK, the rental contracts there will have an agent's like a managing agent in the contract. And I don't recall it having it here. So I think fundamentally, I don't know how the agents actually take money here, because they can't be taking a monthly fee. I'm not sure. If somebody knows, I'd be interested to know. Put it in the comments, because it's an interesting point. I don't know how the agents are getting paid out here on a rental. I would assume that it's still a monthly maintenance fee, but maybe the contracts just work different, and maybe the contracts are all direct. Don't know. Not sure. They've probably got a contract between them. Not sure. But anyway, they both serve a purpose. So I like to go direct if I can. I like to speak to the people I'm doing business with rather than through a middleman, because I just think that I'll negotiate better than somebody in the middle. I think that I can have a better relationship with let's be honest, the end business. I think I'll have a better relationship if I can talk to them directly versus going through somebody else because things get lost in translation. But that's just me. Oh, actually, sorry. You also said how difficult are they to find? Um, well, I mean, no more difficult. This I'm going to sound like a right. I'm going to sound really facetious now. If you asked me to find you, and I would go on to, I don't know, like buy sell Cyprus or Leptos or I don't know, Paphos Direct, I'd go onto like a website and I would just change the filter to 5 or 6 bed and see how hard it is. Go on to Bazaraki and see how. I don't know. I've never looked for a 6 bedroom villa. Are they? There's going to be less of them for sure. There'll absolutely be less of them. But how hard is it to find? I mean, no harder to find than a a 3 bed on the sites anyway. But there'll be less of them. Hopefully that helps. I don't think it does, but hopefully it does. Where do we go to? Lee, our landlord does bring us stuff each month, I think, as a thank you. Had watermelon, various other fruit, apple pie, and just installed irrigation, as could see me struggling in the heat. Nice. And that's really cool, isn't it, Lee? Because like our landlord in the first place used to bring us stuff. And we'd get bananas and we'd get olive oil. That seems to be the thing out here. Avocados, because a lot of people grow their own stuff. So they will quite often bring it. And I think, yeah, in your instance as well, because you're direct to landlord, they can, again, it's a people game, right? You're doing business with people at the end of the day, and they can see the sort of people that you are, and why would they not want to look after you? Because you're in their property, so they look after you, look after them, and it works both ways. So that's great. James, are there any agents or local websites or Facebook groups where landlords advertise directly? And do you recommend honest agents? I always recommend an honest agent. Can I recommend any? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I can. Sorry. Yeah, I'd only recommend to use honest agents. Don't use dishonest ones because they're not very good. No, I know what you mean, James. I'm just being a dick. Right. So, are there any? Right. Yes, Facebook groups. I mean, like any Facebook group, you ask for anything. Does anybody know an accountant? Does anybody know an estate agent? Does anybody know a hairdresser? Does anybody know a gardener? You ask that question in any group, and probably 80% of the replies will be people promoting themselves, going, yeah, sure. Or there'll be people who are, let's say, like, so I've got my property business. In essence, I'm now about to promote it, but I've got my property business. Yeah. It doesn't have my name in the company name. And so I see people online in these property groups and in these Facebook groups, and it'll be like, you should speak to Eco Initiative, or you should speak to this company. They're great. And it's only when you do a little bit of digging and a bit of clicking, you realize that they're part of the bloody company, but it makes it look like they're recommending somebody else's company, but they're recommending their own company. So you just have to be a little bit careful. I don't have a problem inherently with people advertising and marketing. I don't mind that. I just think do it in a way that is, a lot of people will just be like, hey, we do this, reach out to me. At least that way you know who you're dealing with. I try and go from recommendations personally. That said, my current agent is Paphos Direct. And I'm going to show you this actually. Dave, if you're watching, let's just go to bring me in there. Let's go to Paphos Direct. So actually, look at this, right? Just go back. 6 reviews. I like this website. I like Dave who owns it. I think it's really cool. I like it a lot. And he's, like I say, done me an amazing service. But look at this website. I mean, it's not responsive in the slightest. It's offset to the left. But it's like, when you use tables in like the 90s, like when websites first became a thing. This is kind of what it reminds me of, unfortunately. But let's do what we talked about. Let's go bedrooms. Let's go 6. Let's submit. Oh no, maximum price. Well, maximum price 1,000. Let's go 12,000. Right. Now, what you'll find is, there you go. There's one there for 8 grand, one there. There you go, 4.5 grand. 4.5 grand for a 6-bed villa. I mean, where's that going to be? Don't know. But anyway, the point is, you can look at all of these things. 12. Who spends 12 grand a month renting a bloody property? Sorry. I'm clearly, for me to say that, I'm not in a position to spend 12 grand a month on renting a property. But anyway, The website itself is horrific. Sorry, Dave, but it is. That said, the team behind the website are amazing. So, what I would say is if you see anything on this website, put a request in. It probably won't be available because it doesn't seem like it's kept up to date. There's loads of stuff on here when we were looking. And, like, for instance, no, you go to Tyler. Oh, I won't do it. I won't take your time. But basically, there's loads of stuff on here when we were looking that had out of date prices, or every kind of property that we asked for was like, oh, is this one available? Is this one available? It was like, no. And it kind of came around. It's like, well, okay, just show me what is available. And then they send you a load of links. And like I say, the service behind the website is great. Nice conversations, nice people, really kind of just everything I'd want from an agent in that sense. And the website doesn't reflect it. So do I recommend anybody? Yeah, I recommend these guys. In fact, let me just stick it in. And again, I get nothing from this, by the way. I just recommend people that I know, like, and trust. I'll just put it in the chat. Have a look on there. Like I say, if it says it's available, it probably won't be. But then email them and they'll tell you what you've got. They'll tell you what they've got. What did I get to? Okay, right. Chris, just before I come on to your comment, I'm getting really thirsty. So I'm going to go on to this while I have a drink. What if you can take a quick break? I need a drink. It's almost subliminal, by the way. It says like and share. So if you haven't liked it already, give it a thumbs up if you like it. If you don't like it, what are you still doing here? Alrighty, let's carry on. How are we doing for time? 20 past 10. Oh, got plenty of time. Okay. Look, guys, the Cypriot people are basically decent, but if you are going to live here, you basically have to accept that you are a second-class citizen. There's a lot of nepotism here. Well, I've never felt like a second-class citizen. And actually, I'll probably say about 95% of the Cypriots I've spoken to in one way or another have been nothing but welcoming. Like, the people are really friendly. Not necessarily in business. Like, I've seen, like I say, I've seen and heard some horrible stuff in business if you're in business, but day to day, I find the Cypriot people really nice. Now, there are different quirks with Cypriot people. In fact, I'll probably do a video on this at some point, but the different quirks, like for instance, Cypriot kids. People aren't taught manners out here like we're taught in the UK. And I know, like, there's a joke that I think the Canadians had overtaken the British for being the politest country in the world, but the Canadians were too polite to tell them, or something like that, and it's kind of like Canada, the UK, kind of seen as nations that are too polite. Like, for instance, I've learned this from my wife. But if I was to see you in a street, or let's say I know you personally, and I'd go, hi, I was say, Mark, hey, Mark, how are you? And you go, I'm fine, thanks, how are you? And then you can start a conversation. You can't just say, hello, because that's weird. Well, hello, hi. You have to say, hi, how are you? It's just the way it is. It's just like, it's the unwritten norm in English language. Hi, how are you? I'm good, thanks. How are you? Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Cool. Now let's have a conversation. And what you'll find is when you come and live in a country like Cyprus, they don't have the soft language like we have. So you ask a question, it might just be like, no. Well, what's his problem? Doesn't have a problem. He's just using the English language the way it was intended. Would you like something to drink? No. Okay. Okay, cool. I'm glad we had this conversation. So, yeah, yes, there is definitely an abruptness at times. And also, traffic manners is something to be learned by the Cypriot people. Let's just say what it is. Some of them, but what I have learned actually is like most of them won't wave if you let them through, or if you do anything that in the UK they would say thank you for. Most of the time they don't here, and what they do though is that they'll give you a. And if you didn't catch what I just did there, it's because it's really hard to catch when they're driving as well. But you wave and I go, and you kind of catch them. You start to see them doing it in the cars. That's how they say thank you, the ones that do say thank you. But yeah, coming back to it, have I ever been treated like a second class citizen? No. But we were having this conversation yesterday, actually. For any of you guys thinking of coming to Cyprus, and I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna make some assumptions here. A lot of people that want to leave the UK want to leave the UK for one of a few reasons. One of them will be tax, one of them might be safety, the weather, and the other one quite often gets mentioned because I hear about it on the island, I hear people talking about it, excuse me, is around immigration in the UK and how you get all these migrants coming in and how the UK is not as safe as it used to be and everything else, and how people are coming in and nobody's integrating and everybody's expecting them to bend to their ways. And actually, if you look at what the UK is becoming, it is definitely changing, right? And I think a lot of the reason why it's changing is because multiculturalism is fine. I don't have an issue with multiculturalism. The thing I have an issue with personally is when somebody comes to your country and then tries to change it and they don't try to integrate. So I've come here as an immigrant and I am under no illusion that I am a guest in this country. I even though I might live here for 20 years, but I was never born here. So I'm an immigrant. It doesn't matter how long I live here, I'll be an immigrant. I'll always be an immigrant. And that sounds like a dirty word. It sounds like a horrible word, but it's not. It's just a word for the reality of the situation. So I'm an immigrant here, and therefore I'm respectful of the local ways. Yes, I might joke about them. Yes, I might make fun of some of them, like the whole Siga Siga thing. It's funny, but it's also a way of life. My view on comedy, we were talking about this yesterday as well. My view on comedy is, you should be able to laugh without people being offended. And the problem is everybody gets offended by bloody everything these days. For those of you that know me in real life, I have a laugh and a joke and I might say things. And does it mean that you inherently believe them? No, but it can be funny at the time, and humor is it's a very specific thing. It's tailored to an individual. I will say something that I find hilarious and nobody will laugh. That's fine. If I think something's funny, I say it. But the point is that, and it comes down to then your intention. It's like I can have a joke about things in Cyprus, and somebody will be offended and go, "Well, if you don't like it, go back to the UK then." Yeah, I understand the words. You're missing the point. It's like my intent is not to offend. I live a happy life. I have fun. My intent is never to offend anybody. I don't like to offend people. I don't like to do anybody harm if I can help it. I don't want to, I like to go through life knowing that I'm helping people rather than hurting people. Yeah. And I like to be able to sleep at night. So if I take the mick out of something or someone, it's not because I actually believe the thing I'm saying, in a negative way. When I'm taking the mick out of things that happen in Cyprus, like the traffic and everything else, I talk about horny drivers because they're all beeping the horn, like I find that funny. So I say it and it's really stupid. And some of you watching this will have laughed just now. And some of you watching this think, well, Mark's a dick. That's fine. It's your opinion. You're entitled to it. But the point is, where am I going with this? The point is, I am still an immigrant here. And so when you guys come, you're an immigrant too. You'll be immigrants too. You have to be respectful of the place, because like I say, I don't think we're treated as second class citizens, but we are definitely not local. People will be more than welcoming. They will offer you lots, give you lots. Like people are super friendly out here, but don't try and change them. Come here and integrate the best you can, and the best you can might be just living a quiet life and not trying to change the things around you. It's not complaining. Like, what I don't like about the UK at the moment is the way the country has gone. And without being specific, I can just use an example. Imagine if I went to Dubai and I had a Christian protest. How long would it be before I'm in prison? They just wouldn't stand for it. But the UK's gone too soft. And I think that's why the UK is going downhill, because they haven't got a backbone. Everybody's offended by something. There's too much political rights and everything else. And I just don't think it's a good place to be. Or my opinion, you could sit there and disagree with me. That's fine. But knowing that, when you come here, you've got to remember you are one of those people now that has come to the country. So then don't become the thing that you're probably leaving the UK, or part of the reason why you're leaving the UK for. When you come here, don't become that person. Integrate and don't try and change the people around you. Just fit in. That's a lot of waffle, isn't it? That's a lot of waffle. Anyway, let's see what else is here. I feel like I've missed something here. Some comments I've not read. Oh, wait a minute, I've definitely missed one. Chris, I set mine to 28 with a ceiling fan, makes it very livable. Talking about temperature. Yes, cool, nice. Yeah, and it's amazing, Chris, isn't it? How when you do set your temperature, that 28 sounds like it's really hot. Like if you set your central heating to 28 in the UK, it would feel like a sauna. But out here, it's lovely. You know, like I say, ours is 26. Then Lee. So found my five bed villa through Facebook. Was speaking to the landlord 5 months prior to moving over, whilst they were still renovating. Yeah, that's cool. I remember you telling us this actually. But yes, Facebook is a good place. Just for those of you that are looking on Facebook to rent, I've said this before, but I'll say it again. Keep an eye out for the same property being listed by multiple people, because they don't always have permission to rent that property, and they'll do it on the premise that they will probably know the actual advert from the actual owner or the landlord or whatever. And if they can get you in with a price, well, then they can pass you over and then try and claim something from that landlord. And so I saw this when we saw a property that was for rent with three different people. Two of them had it for, I can't remember the price of, like two of them was like 1,900 and one of them was 1,800. So of course you ring the 1,800 one first, or you message the 1,800 one first. And they were a little bit sketchy in coming back to me. Maybe like every 4 or 5 days I got a response. Starting to annoy me. So in the meantime, I reached out to the other two at 1,900. One of them just totally ghosted me, wouldn't reply. The other one did reply, and we're having a bit of a chat. And I was like, okay, cool. I said, can you just confirm the price for me? Is it 1,900 or is it 1,800? And he says, no, it's definitely 1,900. And I said, okay, well, these guys are listing it for 1,800. And he was like, well, which ones are they? Can you send me the link? So I did. And he goes, cool, I'm going to reach out to them because they don't have permission to rent it. So what do you mean? He says, well, it's my dad's property. We haven't instructed any agents to rent it. They're going direct. So you've got agents who are also looking at the listings and then re-advertising the listings with the same photos to try and get people like you and me to come in. So just be careful of that if you're doing it on Facebook. You know, even on Bazaraki, you can message people directly with like the whole WhatsApp thing and the chat on Bazaraki, but you know, just be careful of multiple adverts of the same thing, because if you've got multiple adverts, try and find the one with the owner if you can. Chris, look, guys, Cypriot people are basically decent. Oh, that's where I just went off on a tangent. So, Chris, actually, I worded that wrong. Not second class, but they do look after their own. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that, is there? Yeah, I don't have a problem with that inherently. You know, is it racism to look after your own? I don't know. I mean, you got to think Cyprus is a small place, and I don't know what the statistics are actually of how many expats there are versus locals, but the locals are definitely dwindling in number. And when you've got people like us coming in and pushing all the prices up, I mean, you know, they're going to look after their own, aren't they? Let's be honest. You know, they will and they would. So I get it. But that said, very rarely do I don't feel like I am. Like I said, I don't feel uncomfortable, you know, or anything like that. Like, there's never been really any situations. Not really been any situation. I mean, this probably has been. I can't think of them right now off the top of my head, but there's not many situations where I've felt uncomfortable. Apart from when I was filming the location video on that Jala Jala video for the Eurovision, and I went to that little village. Felt uncomfortable there, but again, it would have been more curiosity because we were the only non-Cypriot people there. Like literally, we stuck out like a sore thumb. Like pasty white, me, my son, and my wife going into this village, which was definitely just a traditional Greek village. That's one of the few times I did feel uncomfortable, just because we were so obviously not meant to be there, or we so obviously weren't from there, you know. So, and people didn't care; they would just stare, and I didn't feel unsafe. Don't get me wrong; I didn't feel unsafe. I just felt very out of place, and you know, they clearly knew that I was out of place because they were staring. It was like, "What's this guy doing here?" So yeah, but you're gonna get that anywhere, right? You know, you can go. No, I'm not going to say it. No, I'm going to say. I have to behave. It's on recorded YouTube. Where are we? Comments. Still loads of comments going through. Blimey. Right. Got 32 people online. How we got? Lost it. You guys are posting and it's made my chat move. Where did I get to? There we go. Right. Very long. Right. We'll wait. No way renting UK property, too much hassle. New property will be finished mid-May 27, so a bit of time to play with. Oh, cool. So you bought a new property on the island, yeah? Where have you bought, by the way? Where are you moving to? Karen, yes, I've noticed that about agents' websites are not all updated regularly. It can be very frustrating. I've started looking on Bazaraki. Yeah, yeah, that's fair enough. Thing is, the websites that are out of date, I mean, there's no harm in using them. But the thing is, a lot of people won't update them because you've got to think it's kind of like a lead magnet in that you message about a property because it's from 5 years ago and it's €850 and like, oh, I've seen this property, and they'll always be like, oh no, we don't have that one, but we've got this one. It's just a way of getting you in and talking to them. So it almost feels like they use the old listings as a way to generate more leads, which is a bit annoying. But what can you do? Chris, Karen, only thing I would tell you is Bazaraki is a bit of a free for all. Sure, but be careful. Yeah, like with Facebook Marketplace, and Chris is right. And it's, for those of you that don't know what Bazaraki is, it's the closest thing we have to it in the UK is probably Gumtree, is what I would think. So yeah, it is a bit of a free for all, but unfortunately, it's kind of like the biggest marketplace on the island from what I've seen. Waiting for Amazon.cy to arrive. Karen, can you tell me some agents don't give, can you tell me some agents don't give you an exact location of property? Can you tell, either I can't read or you can't type, and I'm, let me try again. Can you tell my some agents, I'm gonna make up what I think your question is. I think you're asking, can you tell me why some agents don't give an exact location of properties? There'll probably be a number of reasons, but the ones that come to me off the top of my head are they don't know if you're a tire kicker. So maybe they don't want to give you a location and then you just go around there on your own without involving them and knock on the door and maybe get to the landlord or something like that. And I think that's probably the biggest one, is that they don't want you going there without them. I'll be honest, it's a bit like as well, why would you want to do that? So if I'll give you an analogy with a car, and I'm going to bring it back to a house. If you're selling a car back home on Auto Trader or wherever, you don't put your address in there, do you? You put Leicester or you put Burbage or whatever, right? But you don't put your house number. Why don't you put your house number? You don't put your house number because anybody that's interested in that car then knows where you live, which I know sounds stupid. And you might go, yeah, well, what's wrong with that, Mark? Because if somebody's going to buy it, they need to know where I live. Yeah, but what if somebody wants to steal it, right? Then they know exactly where you live and they know where the car is. So then they can come and steal it if they want. So if you are advertising a property and you put the exact location, well, what have you just said about that property? Well, people know it's empty because it's on the market, right? So it's probably empty. There's probably stuff in there worth nicking, potentially anyway. And if you put the address there without meeting the person there, I think it makes it a security risk. So they would be the reasons why I personally wouldn't want, even if I had an agent, putting the address on the property. So they're the reasons I can think of as to why I wouldn't do that anyway. But there are other reasons, don't know. What I would say though is, depending on the area, with a little bit of searching, a little bit of skill, I'm going to show you this. With a little bit of searching, a little bit of skill, you can. Hang on a minute. Let's go. Didn't change. You get very used to. So let's just, jump down here. Right. Let's just go to Kissanegra, if that's how you say it. And just zoom in. Right. So you see a lot of these pools, they're a little bit samey, right? Because like you get a fleet of villas all built in the same block or same time, and they've all got the same pools and everything else. But what you'll find, and maybe we can just do this as an example. So if I just select a village, let's go like Cathicus, right? And you look at some of these, and you might look at this one here, and you look at the pool, you look at the shape. So there's an L-shaped house, there's a pool tucked into the L shape, right? So what I would then personally do is I would go up to Cathicus and I would look for that very thing. Now, I'm not going to do it now because it's going to take up your time. But by doing that, I've been able to work out pretty much where most properties are before I've gone and viewed them, right? In fact, the first two properties we've had, we found it on the map before the agent told us from photos and things like that. So you can if you have got a little bit of patience, you could sit here and go, right, well, I'm looking for a triangle house with a pool that's tucked in, a triangle, like an L-shaped house. And I would literally just be scanning around at this level, and you look for an L-shaped house. If I find it now, this will rock. It will absolutely rock. And you'll be like, Mark, you're amazing, but I'm not going to find it. And you're like, Mark, you suck. But anyway, you get the point. Oh, look at that. No, it's not. I see. But that's what I would do. I'd look at it and go, no, it's not that one. And I'd look around. Any of these look like they're L-shaped. Literally do that. And there you go. Look at that. What's no, 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 no. But that's exactly what I would do. So if you're looking for a property that you can see it on, it's interesting actually, because I'll come back to this. You think about how much people share on social media, right? People posting pictures. And I'd say this as well, like you have to be a little bit careful of what you're sharing yourself, because you post pictures of your pool online. It's nice to send it back to the family and friends back home, because everybody's like, oh, you got a pool, and it's always sunny there, and it's great to be you. But if somebody, depending on what else you're posting, if somebody else wants to find your house, it is quite easy to find by the shape of the pool. Like literally with a bit of time, like this house here, like I know if I wanted to find it, I would find that house. Is there on the website. It's in Cathicus. I would find that house if I wanted to find it. And so that's how I find houses. It's how we find houses. You're looking at things in the pictures and stuff like that. And yeah, that's how I would find it. There is actually I think it's a TikTok account. This is nothing to do with Cyprus, by the way, but there's a TikTok account or an Instagram account, and it's called Jose Monkey. And what he does, he gets people to find people that want to be found. And they'll record a video of themselves. And so they'll hold this thing, like I'm going to use this, but literally they'll hold the camera in front and they'll just spin around, do a 360 and like, hey, Jose Monkey, find me. And that's all they do. And just from that spin in the video, he will point and he will find the exact location pretty much anywhere in the world, not in Cathicus. He'll find them anywhere in the world based on things like license plate details or hills in the background or anything like that. Really interesting, but I find that quite stuff fascinating. So having watched quite a number of his videos out of interest, I'd be very cautious, and I generally share what I'm comfortable sharing and nothing more. And so if you are taking pictures of your house or whatever, they are easily findable by the shape of your house and the pool and everything else. So I'm waffling on a lot now, but that would be why agents don't share the house. For security would be my guess. And if you want to find the house, do that. And that's what I would do anyway. Hopefully it helps. Chris, they were talking about subletting, Mark. You have to pay the estimated VAT on your estimated income up front, is what I was saying. Oh, okay. Okay, because you're running it like a business and therefore you're paying VAT on the income. Got it. Makes sense. Yeah, fine. So if you are doing subletting through a company, then yeah, sorry, I understand what you mean now, Chris. Thanks. Much appreciated. Alex, holiday lets need to be VAT registered. Think the threshold is around 15.5K. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. I didn't know it was 15.5 grand for holiday lets. I mean, I knew that, yeah, holiday lets as a business would be VATable. So I understand what you mean now, guys. Sorry. I'm clearly having a moment and missed that. But yeah, no, good stuff. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Alex. It doesn't apply to long-term rental income. No. And that's the same in the UK as well. If it's what was an AST, it's not ASTs anymore because they've been abolished, but what was an AST is you wouldn't have to pay VAT on it, but with like service accommodation, short-term lets you do. Spangled Stew. That's a new name. Evening, Spangled Stew. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for dialing in. Are long-term lets available on the island? As in the UK, they are short-term only these days. Okay, well, what you'll find, Spangled Stew, I'm just going to call you Stew if that's all right. What you'll find, Stew, is that they pretty much only have long-term lets. And interestingly, whereas the UK has now changed, the UK, I think, is now like it's no longer a 6-month AST. you've got to give a couple of months' notice, or they have you. That's it. It's otherwise like a rolling monthly now. They've changed it with this renters' rights bill. But here, although I don't think there's any hard and fast rule, most landlords, like the norm, is a 12-month contract. So that is long by the UK standards for sure. Quite often, a lot of landlords want 2 years. Our first landlord wanted 2 years and we negotiated him down to 1 year. Talk about everything being negotiable. We negotiated 1 year because I didn't know if we're going to like the area. Didn't know if I was going to like Cyprus. So I didn't want to be tied to Cyprus for 2 years. So yes, they're available. What you might find is that the shorter the term, the more you'll pay because they want to lock you in. That's why short-term lets for Airbnb is like the highest rent you'll pay. If somebody's prepared to do a 3-month or a 6-month let, you'll probably find it's more expensive than the equivalent property doing a 12-month let. Stephen Island. Oh, okay. I offered to redo his website a few days ago. He said he built it himself about 25 years ago and it still works. It still works and it definitely shows. And yeah, I mean, like I say, I wasn't wrong then, was I? I was like, did I say late 90s, early 2000s? It does remind me of those websites anyway. It's like when everything was in tables. But yeah, it's he's not wrong. It does work. But I think, there's a lot of opportunity like that. I mean, again, I'm joking about this one. Like I say, the company behind the website is great. Dave and the guys are great. His team's great. But there's a lot of websites out here that are just rubbish. Like even, I mean, you've seen it. I think when I was paying the road tax, even the government website wasn't great. There's other websites that you use, and I just don't understand how business runs on such shoddy websites at times. Some of them are just shocking. Google Times are always out of date. Nobody bothers to update Google Times. So just because Google says the place is open doesn't mean it hasn't been closed for days or weeks or closed indefinitely. But quite often the opening times are wrong. And then the other thing, which has escaped me, because I've now forgot what I'm saying and I'm a pleb. I was going somewhere with that. There was another thing. Don't know what the thing was. Damn it. Where was I going with that? That's where I was going. Not only are their websites all out of date, but for anybody that has a business in the UK, you'll know how amateurish it looks when you see a business and have got a van or whatever, and it will say gmail.com, Mark's business at gmail.com. Yeah, out here, it just seems to be fine. Like you see businesses with either Gmail or you see businesses with, Mark's business at Ceta.com. It's like, what? That's like your free email from the ISP. You can afford a domain, and they don't do it. Not everybody. It just baffles me. There's a world of opportunity out here. People want to do it. That's me putting the link. Alex, echo that. Paphos Direct are great. Just ignore the website and give them a call. Yeah. Oh, loads of comments still coming through. Chris, it's the most amusing thing here. In every aspect of life, they are chilled, but put them behind the wheel of a car and they're in an insane hurry. I know, right? And I have a theory about this because they spend. I'm saying they. Chris, are you a Christos? are you a Cypriot? But anyway, because the Cypriots spend their entire life going Siga Siga. Actually, I got corrected. Sorry, I'm going to come on to I got corrected on this the other day. There was Siga and there was Siga. And one of them means slowly and one of them means fig. And I don't know which one I'm saying. I'm trying to say slowly, slowly. Because slowly, slowly, because Siga Siga is a way of life. My theory is that they spend so long going Siga Siga that then they get in the car to go to work, to the shops, to school, to wherever. And they're like, holy crap, I'm late. And then they have to drive fast everywhere. It's nuts. Anyway, that's my theory. I'm sticking to it. Where we got to... Alex, rental agreements vary in length, but certainly 1 year or, like in Mark's example, multiple years. Rent payment also varies a lot from monthly to quarterly to 6 months in advance, etc. All negotiable. Yeah, that's a really good shout, Alex. So we we negotiated down from 6 months up front to 3 months on our first property. I know somebody who I met when I first came out here. The landlord wanted 12 months up front, like a year's rent up front. They wanted, and he said, "No, I'll give you six tops," and they negotiated him down to six. Everything's negotiable. It's like what we've been saying throughout the evening tonight. But yeah, cheers, Alex. That's a good shout. Paphos, Brian, good to have you on. I don't know how long you've been on for, but good to have you on. Hi, Mark. Great meetup yesterday. Lovely meeting the family and all the others who attended. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Brian. I'm really, really glad you could come along as well. So, for those of you that don't know, I did call Brian out earlier on this. Don't know if you're watching, Brian, but yeah, Brian has the website. Brian has the YouTube channel Paphos. Again, we all do different types of content, so I will always promote other people. Like go and watch Brian's stuff as well. It's totally different to mine. It's different to other people. You'll learn something from Brian that you haven't learned from me for sure. So, Brian, feel free to put your channel link in here, and anybody else watching this, like I say, if Paul and Tamara are on here, they want to put your name and your YouTube channel in there, and Chris and Sue as well. I know you guys have just started out. Stick yours in as well if you're on. Feel free to put it in there. But yeah, 3 channels, all probably worth a watch over and above this. Like I say, I think you can learn something from everybody. And I'm never arrogant enough to think I've got all the answers. So, but yeah, thanks for joining, Brian. And glad you had a good time yesterday as well. We had a good time as well. So yeah, it's really cool. Chris, just so I'm clear, been here for 20 years and would not live anywhere else. I just want people to be realistic. That's all. Yeah. And that's exactly what they should be, Chris, because the thing is, quite often, and this is why I say about coming out here and doing trial living, when people think about going to live in Cyprus or going to live anywhere, typically they'll have been somewhere on holiday and they then think, I would love to live there. And you think, what would you? Would you really like to live there? Because, and it's the example I always use, you could go camping and enjoy that for 2 weeks, but you wouldn't necessarily want to live in a tent or live in a caravan, right? But you can enjoy it for 2 weeks. And unfortunately, when people come to somewhere like Cyprus, it's usually because they've been there on holiday, right? You get the exceptions, people coming here for work and the army and stuff. But most people that want to move to Cyprus, they've been here on holiday and they like what it has to offer. But quite often they're trading on those holiday feelings, and those holiday feelings don't come with the commitments of work and the commitments of paying your bills and the commitments of everything else. All the things that you have to do in life back home when you're not on holiday all happens here. And you have to do it all in a different way. For us to start with, that's quite exciting because you're learning everything new again. It's like learning how to walk. You're learning all these different things. Like, who would have thought that you have to pay your bloody electric bill and I have to dial in, or I have to literally pay it on what's the platform called? I can't check it on my phone because I'm using my phone. Basically, you have to log in as like a central payment. Somebody put it in the comments. There's a central payment place. I actually wanted to do a video on this, but there's a central payment thing where you pay all of your fines if you get parking tickets, police tickets, and you're paying the electric bill as well. But that was just direct debit in the past, and it was always an average bill throughout the year. But here you're paying for usage as you use it. Lots of things that are different. And the thing is, people that just come to live in Cyprus based on the holiday feelings, you are setting yourself up for disappointment and for a world of pain if you're coming out here thinking it's going to be just like holiday, because it's not. We've got a family here now and they're on holiday. I'm working tomorrow, right? I'm still going to be working tomorrow, even though they're here on holiday, because I've got stuff I need to do. And when people come in on holiday, I can't be on holiday every time they're on holiday. So, you are living out here. It's not just coming out here to sit on the beach, to sit by the pool. You end up living out here. And then that's when you start to realize that actually, you start to realize that it's not warm in the winter, irrespective of what the pictures look like and the postcards. Things like that you only experience when you're living out here. And it's totally different to live in a country than it is to just visit it on holiday. Jonathan Ramsey 77, Pierre Snap also have May 27th delivery date for our property. Ha! This is where you find out you guys are neighbors and you're living in the same block. There you go. And now you get to meet through this channel. That's cool, isn't it? Where are you guys moving to? You don't have to tell me, but Paphos, Larnaca, Limassol. Where are you guys moving to? Perrier Lang. We've got. Oh man, can you move somewhere that I can pronounce? Aslima Kaiser development. Aslima, is that right? Aslima Kaiser. You do realize if that's in your address whatsoever, you're going to have to say that to everybody. Where do you live? Oh, I live in Aslima Kaiser Road, whatever it's going to be. Anyway, so far the builders have been exceptional in service. So far, regular updates, etc. That's cool. I'm glad. I'm glad about that. That's cool. Path to Paphos. I think I was very lucky. So, Brian, I think I was very lucky with my rental townhouse, but I'd already rejected several properties first. I'm a believer in due diligence, doing your homework, and looking beyond the glossy hype. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I normally have lots to say, but I just agree with you. You should always do your due diligence. You should learn how to say due diligence, and then when you can say it, you should then do it. But yes, absolutely, you should do it. Karen, Mark, you suck. Thanks. I can't remember what that was in relation to, but you're probably not wrong. Whatever it is. Brian, that's the reason I haven't made a walk around our pool area on YouTube. Shape of pool plus all houses are different color finishes, so would be so easy to find on Google Earth. Yes, yeah, that is true. And if you've got if you've got an unusual shaped pool, then it makes it very easy to find. You know, like I've seen people that have got like, you know, I don't like the pools, but you get these ones, it's like a bean shaped pool. I like a straight pool that I can do this in, not a bean pool where I do this, you know. But anyway, bean pools are really easy to find. And especially, you know, when you're looking on overhead plan, because nearly everybody's got a straight pool. So straight pools are, well, not nearly everybody. A lot of the modern new builds, you know, they've kind of gone boring and boxy and it's just everything straight. So it's quite easy to find. But the traditional builds, and they've got a funny shaped pool, you spot them quite easily from the air. Philip, how would you know if a property is bank repossessed and would they be any cheaper to buy from them? Well, I'll answer it backwards. Yes, it's definitely cheaper to buy from them. Our land that we bought was bank repossessed. It is definitely cheaper to buy from the bank than it is from a vendor, 100%. Also, if you buy from a bank or you buy from a repossessed piece of land and you're not going through an agent, you are saving at least 10% in doing so. Now, how would you know if a property is repossessed? Generally, it tells you. If you go onto any of the property portals, it will tell you that it's a bank repossession. And that's how you would know from the mainstream agents, because they'll just say bank owned or something like that. In fact, you can even search on the filters bank owned. So you can search that way. Chris, Scottish, but I live in Larnaca. We are so out of sequence. I'm screaming in the wind a bit. Well, yes. And it's fine. So the thing is, by coming to you guys live, it's always going to be a little bit out of sequence because inevitably you're in Scotland and I'm not. Well, no, you were in Scotland, now you're in Larnaca. But the software that I use to stream so that I can do all of this stuff, so I can go like, woohoo, woohoo, and I can do this, and I can do this, and I can, you know, I can put my intro on, and I can do this. All of that stuff, I use this piece of streaming software. And it just creates a little bit extra lag than if I went directly through YouTube. But what it does mean is I can do different things. Like, and what I'm going to start doing, I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to start going live on multiple platforms. So for those of you that have asked me about like Instagram and TikTok, you know, I have them set up so that you guys can reach out to me and message me without me giving my phone number away. But all I do on those channels is I use a piece of software. This is when I do use AI. You know, I talked to you about wanting to be as transparent and as authentic with you guys as possible in a way that allows me to. It's very hard to fake this, right? It's very hard to fake. Yes, you could fake my voice, my the way I look and everything else, but it's really hard to fake questions. Like doing a live Q&A each week. I mean, you'll probably be able to fake it at some point, but right now you see me make mistakes, you see me do everything. I'm talking to you guys in the chat. But what I want to do is, although I don't use AI for any of this on Instagram and TikTok, I use AI to chop up these live streams and automatically push them out so that I'm building my, if you like, my presence on multiple platforms. What I'm going to start doing using this software is I'll be able to go live on multiple platforms at the same time. So there is a lag, but it's going to give me more benefit in the future. And for now, it just creates a bit of humor in terms of I'm answering questions from like 5 minutes ago. But anyway, it is what it is. But yeah, there is a bit of lag, but it's going to be for the greater good. For those of you that have seen that film, what film is that? The Greater Good. I can't do it. I can't do the voice. But anyway, where we got to Karen Karen GLYKYS 4436. I rent a 2-bed ensuite detached villa in Polis. Communal pool, aircon, wood burner, all in £800 a month. Moved over this year. I'm very jealous. I'm very jealous. Yes, Polis is nice. For those of you, let's go to the map. For those of you that don't know where Polis is, it is north of Paphos. Let's just get rid of this. It's north of Paphos. I'm going to say north of Paphos. You may recall you've got Paphos, the region, just here. And so in Paphos, the region, you then have Polis up here. And inevitably, property and everything is cheaper up here because there's nothing really going on up here. I mean, all right, you can go to Latchi and you can go to the harbour and you can go to the Blue Lagoon, but the airports are a while away. Business doesn't really happen here. Like everything's happening Limassol, Paphos, or this part of the island. So nothing really goes on up here. That said, it's a very nice place to go when you're visiting. So I think a lot of the locals will go here on holiday. You know, they'll go here for days out. Like it's a beautiful place to go all up this road. This road here is a lovely drive. And I like coming up here. And where's the place? You should definitely try. If you've never been to Paphos Beach, you should go to Paphos Beach. It's great. Really nice little place. Got some nice restaurants there. And there's a beach bar there, which is great. It's about a 3-hour drive from where we are, but it's great because you're going down this, you know, it looks like a fast road. It's not that quick to get there. But anyway, so this part of the island, there's not a huge amount going on, but as a result, property prices are cheaper. I really like this part of the island. The only thing that stops us living up there really is the lack of infrastructure for schools, because all of the international schools are kind of down this way around Paphos area, around Paphos and Paya. So that's a hell of a commute. Now they are talking about, and they are building, somebody tried to shoot me down on this a little while ago, but this B7 road, they are building a new motorway road. And people are saying it'll never happen, they'll never get it signed off. Well, if that's the case, my question to you would be, you naysayers, is why are they already building it? Because when you come around here somewhere, I say it's not on Google Maps. Basically, if you drive up this way, you can see they're already building parts of the motorway bridge. So it's in development anyway. Whether it, just because it started though, Siga, they could be building it for 20 years. But the point is, they're trying to connect Polis with a faster road to Paphos. If they do that, the property prices in Polis will go up. And so if you're buying speculatively, then you could buy cheaper property up north. And if they do ever build the road and connect it to Paphos with a faster road, you're going to be quids in probably. Brian, message retracted. Chris, JCC, thank you. JCC Smart, that is the one. Yes, I couldn't remember it. JCC Smart is, let me just Google it on here. JCC Smart. I was thinking about actually doing a video on this, like walking people through it. People can steal my ideas now. It's fine. So let me, where's it gone? That one. So you'll see here. So if you log in, I won't log in because you'll see all my details, but basically you log in here. This way you can do road tax, Cyprus police, tax department, mobile phone top-ups, and the EAC, right? So this is kind of like, it's how I end up paying my electric bill rather than just taking a direct debit. I mean, talk about feeling freaking 20 years behind times. I have to remember to pay the electric bill rather than it just coming out automatically. Like I'm just so used to things happening with direct debit back in the UK. Here, you kind of have to make manual payments still, and it's a bit of a faff. Again, not enough to make me want to go home, not enough to, make me go, it's a pain. I'll joke about it. It is a faff. They're very behind the times. You just get on with it. You integrate, you get on with it. You don't really moan about it. You can make fun of it and then you pay it anyway. It's fine. But yeah, the JCC Smart app, like literally everything seems to use JCC Smart on the island, and it's really cool. But yeah, lots of stuff go through here. And like I say, in fact, I got a fine. I got a parking ticket in Larnaca. I parked outside a hotel and the hotel told me I could park there. And I said, yeah, but there's a sign saying no parking. And they said, no, it's fine. We've got like registered places or something with the council. Anyway, more for me for listening. I get a parking ticket, don't I? So I came back, paid it, and the paying the fine was like €7 for the day. To pay the fine was cheaper than to pay the parking if I'd have paid to park. Like, what? So even the fines were cheap. Yeah, anyway, so you pay it through JCC Smart. That's why you do it. Karen, Chris, nice. Yes, I'm very jealous. Steven, Scope Railways, JCC Smart. Yes. Chris beat you to it, but yes, JCC Smart. Jonathan Ramsey, Konya for us. I'm sure you can pronounce that one, Mark. Ha, Konya. Yes. I can pronounce your name as well. Thank you very much. Karen, it was referenced to you not being to show the exact location of properties. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, there you go. Chris, my mate drove us around a Karma's Point. I shat myself. Where's a Karma's Point, actually? Let's go back to this. Where is the Karma's Point? Because I know the Karma's region. So for those of you that don't know, if I just come off this, you've got the Karma's National Park here. I'm going to assume the point is the pointy bit. Does it say? Ponte Bapa, a deserted beach? And it won't be. It clearly can't be deserted. 16 people have been there. Well, I don't know if this is where you mean, but if this is the area, Chris, then I don't know. But what I do know is actually you can walk. No, there's a campsite somewhere here. Where is it? Pirate Bay Camp. Oh no, it wasn't that one. It's literally where pirates come to camp. This one. This campsite, this eco campsite here. So anyway, we came down here and we parked up. I did a camping video 5-6 weeks ago, and we didn't end up coming here. We wanted to come here, but it was full, so we ended up going over Larnaca way. Anyway, this Aphrodite's trail is really nice. We did this trail, and you walk up here, and it's beautiful views and everything. And that's really good. Like you can see the kind of the elevation here. You get some amazing views from this. But the reason why I'm telling you all of this is because if you've got the right car, you can drive all the way up here. And what you'll see is if you go on a boat trip to the Blue Lagoon, and the boat trip will take you from Lachi Harbour just here, and it'll take you up this way to the Blue Lagoon. See there where it's Blue Lagoon, and here, all the Blue Lagoon around here. So it'll take you up, you see all the boats are parked as well. So that's the Blue Lagoon that you go on a boat trip for, but you can drive up this way. And what you'll find is that you'll see, as you're coming up on the boat, I guess places like this, you'll see people with pickup trucks that are literally parked on the side, and they've got gazebos and stuff like that, and they're just on a private bit of beach, chilling on their own with no tourists, no other locals, and it's really cool. But yeah, the roads, I've not driven up this way yet. I want to, but if it's anything like the rest of the Akarmas region, like if you're driving up to Lara Bay, then the roads, I mean, road is a loose term. But if that's what you mean, then yeah, I can see it being hairy because they're your roads, right? It's a bit, anyway, I believe you. Alex, rode up to, oh God, rode up to Pakya, I mean, Pakyamos, Yamam, Pakyamamos, Pakyamamos on the bikes today. Beautiful ride along the coast. Lots of places for a coffee lunch. Right. I'm not even going to, I can't even, I'm not even going to, oh, I have to type it. Oh, I was going to say, I'm not even going to type it, but I can't remember it right. P-A-C, looking like I can touch type. And P-A-C-H-Y-A-M-M-O-S. Where's this? Oh, sweet. Right. Now I'll bring the map back. Cool. So you've been up this here. Awesome. Yeah. So you'll have been past then. You'll have been past here. So yeah, Alex, you're right. It is really nice up this way. And this road, I mean, like I say, there's not a lot going on up here, but the road and the drive is beautiful. The views you get, like the scenery, like from here, actually, the views that you get from this restaurant looking, or these restaurants looking this way, and you've got all the hills and all down here, it's really nice, really beautiful. And so you've come up this way, which is really nice. If you ever venture into the north, what happens is you come down this road and you got this road that's like spaghetti. It kind of teases the border and it comes around here. And then you go through, there's the buffer zone somewhere. In fact, let me just get rid of that. Yeah, so you've got this landlocked bit here, and you've got the buffer zone. So it's landlocked by this buffer zone, but then you come around here, and there's loads of kind of military bases up this way, or we kept seeing them, and then you come down here and it's just teasing the border, and then eventually you keep coming this way and you go across somewhere because it's not until you get to this way here. So even some of these villages, quite interesting to go to, but it's quite far. It's definitely a nice ride out. So you've been up on your bikes, it's lovely. We've been up in the cars before, it's lovely. We like it. If you go for a day out somewhere, it's just nice. You go somewhere that isn't Paphos, Coral Bay, Gyroscopiu. You just go somewhere different, and that's why I like living where we live, because with Tala, I can get to Paphos, I can get to Gyroscopiu, I can get down to the motorway and come down to Limassol. But it's also dead easy to go to Paya, but it's also dead easy to jump on the Tsada road and go straight up to Polis. So you can get everywhere really, really kind of quite easily. So we like it, But yeah, this road there is beautiful. Really like it. So it's a good shout. Blimey, I need another drink. Right, I'm going to have a drink, and I am just going to say one thing before I have a drink. That, look, if you are finding this interesting and you're liking it, then please just give it a like. If you think somebody else will like it, give it a share too, because I am just trying to document what life is really like out here. When I first moved to Cyprus, or was first moving to Cyprus now nearly 3 years ago, over 3 years ago, there was nobody really kind of documenting this or doing this type of content. And so I'm building the channel that I wished existed when we were moving out here. So my only ask is that if you think somebody will get the benefit from it, give it a share, and invite people down to the meets as well, because now we're going to meet up monthly. If you think somebody's going to be able to meet some new friends or whatever, then invite them down, and it'd be cool to see people and meet people as well. And for anybody watching this, we do the monthly meetups. Come down every month, and you get to meet some of the people that you're talking to in the chat. So that's really cool. Anyway, I'm going to have a drink, and then I'm going to come back to the questions. Okay, let's come back to the questions. So we've got Chris, we didn't have the right car. Yeah, a lot of people don't. That's why I have said this to people, actually, is that if I was moving out here again and I was only going to have one car, I would just have a 4x4 of some sort. And then people back home in the UK, they laugh because I've been, on calls or whatever, and they've said, what car do you have? And when you say you have any kind of 4x4, Discovery or whatever, they laugh and they're like, a Chelsea tractor. And I'm like, you haven't seen the roads. I've done more off-roading here, driving to and from a place of interest, than I ever did in the UK. It's not like I ever did green laning in the UK. The roads out here aren't all roads, and they're all terrible. Even the roads that are roads, you just go through potholes. In fact, here's something I learned a couple of weeks ago. I was getting the tires done on my car, and it was like a comedy skit. It was, excuse me, I went in to get my tracking done. And when I went in, I left about 2.5 hours later with 4 new tires, unbuckled wheels, and something else, but I still hadn't got my tracking done. I was like, what the hell? I went in to get my tracking done. I left with everything but the reason for that was because, well, one, they were closing because they only open. Right, hold that thought. There's a gripe I have about Cyprus, but not enough to make me leave home. Just something I'm noticing and observing, and I'll say it because I think it's funny. But they were open for half a day on Saturday. And so by the time they did everything else, changed my tires, then straightened the wheels and everything else, it was too late for them to do the tracking and the wheel alignment. So they had to go back another day. But I didn't know, and I guess it kind of makes sense, but I didn't know you could buckle a car wheel. And I thought if you buckle the car wheel, the tire just deflates and that's it. You've knackered the wheel and goes in the bin and you buy a new one. But you can buckle a wheel like you can on a push bike. And again, I'm saying this like some of you will be watching this going, Mark, you're an idiot. Of course you can. Like, yeah, I'm a petrol head. I didn't know you could. Like, I'm just because I like cars doesn't mean I'm that mechanically minded. So anyway, they showed me on a jig how the wheels were buckled, and they were actually buckled like you'd see on a bike, where you just like you spin it and it's like just twitching a little bit. And so anyway, so they straightened all the wheels up for me. They heat the wheel up, they straighten it all out, and they unbuckle the wheels. And I didn't know that the car could feel that good. Like, this is in my Mercedes. It already feels nice to drive. You know, like when you get into that, I love driving it because it's such a comfy car to drive. And you can be leery when you want to be leery. You can be comfy when you want to be comfy. But then the wheels were straightened out. It's like a whole new car. It was really strange. I didn't realize it was that bad. But anyway, then you're driving along, and within a week, like, you know, they're probably buckled again because you can be driving along a new bit of road that's tarmacked, and you just get bang, and you think. I've been several times where I thought, God, I must have smashed a wheel, and you get out and it's all fine. You know, the tire's fine. But yeah, the roads out here are terrible. So if I was only going to have one car, I would have a 4x4 because otherwise it's quite restrictive on where you can go. If you want to go like to these places that are Nicosia region or wherever, it's a bit restrictive. You know, so if I was only going to have one car, I would have some sort of 4x4. It doesn't even need to be a fancy one. I would just have something with higher ground clearance that's four-wheel drive. You know, that's just what I would do. So the other thing I was going to tell you before I carry on with the comments, the other thing I was going to tell you is, so one of my gripes about Cyprus is on a Saturday, it feels like everything closes on a half day, like 1, 2 o'clock it closes, you know, places, everywhere you go to. Now, the thing is, because I work quite antisocial hours, and by antisocial, I mean 11 till 7 for my UK client. Like when I'm IT contracting, I'm working 11 till 7. So I start at 11 in the morning and I work through till about 7 at night. What that means is there's a lot of places that you would ordinarily go shopping in, or you wanted to do something, are closed in the week. Because in the UK, there's a place near me called Foss Park. If I wanted, I could finish work at 5, and Foss Park and everywhere would be open till 8, sometimes 9 o'clock, right? And I could just go, and you've got plenty of time. If you needed to go pick up some clothes or anything like that, I could just go. There'd be like 4 hours in the evening where I could go and pick stuff up, 3 or 4 hours. Here, I can't, because most of the places will close 6 o'clock, 5, 6 o'clock in the week, and they all kind of close. So you think, that's okay, I'll just go in the morning. But no, because it's Cyprus, and you know everybody deserves a lay in, right? So most places you try and go to, you go to the shopping centres, they don't open till 10. So in the week, I'm a little bit screwed. I can't go anywhere. I can't go and do any kind of shopping, really. You know, all right, you can go to some place like Bionic will be open at 8 a.m. or 8:30. 8:30's approximate is when they decide to open. From 8:30, it should say. You know, we open from 8:30. Life's a lottery, be lucky. But what it means is that I can't actually kind of do any shopping until the weekend. And at the weekend, a lot of places that you want to visit or you want to go to or whatever, they close on a half day because they close at like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. So I do find that restrictive as somebody that's working UK hours, living on the island. I do find that restrictive at times. So I just thought I'd call it out. It's nothing to do with property or anything else, but I thought I'd call it out. Another story for you. Right, what do we get to? Mark, driving around the Bahamas, it's all Land Cruisers and Pajeros, then one person in a ride now Nissan Note needing to call a rescue service. So I was going to say, actually, right. So yeah, you're right. You've got Land Cruisers, the Pajeros. So for those who don't know, Pajero is the Japanese imported Mitsubishi Shogun. And the other one you see a lot of Land Rovers, because the Jeep Safari Tours, ironically, Jeep is synonymous for it's like when people Google something, it's like Google becomes the word for search, even though Google was the company. But anyway, so the Jeep Safaris use Land Rover Freelanders. No, they don't. They use Land Rover Defenders. And you see those out there as well. And inevitably, the hire car companies will all tell you, you cannot take it off-road. You can't take your car off-road unless you've got a 4x4, which they charge you a load extra for. And inevitably, as Mark's saying, you will get to where you're going and there'll be a waft of 4x4s and a load of red number plates in the cheapest, smallest cars that you can see on the island, where people have tried to spend the cheapest amount possible, and they take it off-roading and they take it up to the Bahamas regions, go up to Lara Bay, and they're not insured technically, because if they damage the sump or anything underneath the car, then it's in the contract, they're not insured for it. But yeah, you always get them. And you kind of feel like, oh, naughty. And you just like, if it was my car, I'd be a bit miffed. But anyway, it's not my car. So you drive up there, you always see them. You always get them, don't you? Brian, Mark, there's always one. You can't fix stupid. Ah, there you go. See, you're right. You're right, Brian. There is always one. Can't fix stupid. Love it. Karen, message retracted. Karen, what would you suggest? What would you suggest would be an ideal time scale to start booking viewings on properties before the actual move over date? Okay, that's a good question. And some people might be going, "Oh, it's obvious, isn't it?" It's not obvious because I'll tell you why, Karen. So what would be a good time? I'll tell you the time frame we used. We moved in August of 2023. We were looking from about February onwards, but we didn't actually start getting viewings on properties until about, I think it was about April time, April or May. I think it was about April time we started. Now, we started viewing properties in April, probably end of April, no, probably May actually. I might be lying here. It's probably May. I think it was May we started looking because then what happened was we were looking at stuff through May and then we secured something for June. We got given June for free, and then I started paying from July. So I paid for 6 weeks for the place to be empty. And the agents will tell you as well, there's no point in looking until near the time because landlords don't want to leave their property empty. Why would they? So we started looking about May time, secured something in June. But the reason why I say it's not necessarily an obvious question is it depends on your circumstances, Karen. If you are happy and you're in a financial position where you can rent something and leave it empty for a couple of months, then a landlord might be happy to wait a couple of months and then you could pay for a couple of months. So all of a sudden you can rent something 4 months before you move, let's say. And you might say, why would you do that? Well, we did that because we were literally, it was like May, June time, and it was going to be coming into Airbnb season, and we didn't want to lose the property. So we just said, screw it, we'll pay for it to be empty for what was inevitably then 6 weeks. So it depends on your circumstances. If you try and view too early, agents won't want to entertain it anyway. Landlords won't want to entertain it because, let's be honest, you'll probably be wasting their time. You're not going to, you're not going to take it too early. So then why waste the time taking their time up for them to show you? And why would they show you when somebody else will come along and just rent it? It is kind of a renter's market. So for me, the advice would be work out how long you can afford to pay for it to be empty. If at all, you might say I absolutely can't. And if you can't, I think 1 to 2 months before is when you want to be locking it in, because I don't think a landlord will go for more than that. I don't think a landlord, why would they? They can rent it to somebody else where they don't lose 2 months in a year or something. So again, all negotiable. Talk about property being negotiable, all negotiable. You can talk to the landlord. If you said, look, I'm going to sign with you for 2 years, but I need the contract to start on this date. Are you cool with that? If you're going to sign a 2-year contract, they'll probably be more willing than if you said, I'm only going to stay there for 12 months while I figure stuff out. Again, it's all negotiable, but that's what we did. That's how I would do it. Look at what you can afford to pay. Look at how long you can afford it to be empty for, if at all, and then gauge it on the conversations with the landlord or the agent and whether or not it's the right property. Because you might see something that's absolutely perfect for you in the right location, the right size, the right money, in which case you go, why risk losing it? If you can afford to pay for it to be empty for a month, then just pay for it to be empty for a month and hold it. Then you've got it then, haven't you? Chris, bakery and Periptero. I swear you guys are just taking the mick tonight. Like, let's put silly words in the chat and see if Mark can pronounce them. What is Periptero? Is this another bakery? Hang on a minute. I actually need to look this up because I might learn something here. P-E-R-I, Perip, was it? Perip, Peri, I'm getting Peri chicken in my head. Periptero. What's Periptero? Let's bring it back. Oh, look at that. It's even Google doesn't know what it is. Huh? Bakery and Periptero is always open though. Oh, maybe Periptero is kiosk. That would make sense. Kiosks are always open. A lot of them are 24/7. Yes, I'm assuming that's what it is, right? I having this conversation yesterday. We went to Papantonio Bakery. What I don't. Oh, Brian's going. Okay. Cheers, Brian. Thanks very much for dialing in. And I will catch you at some point in the future for sure. We said we're going to have a coffee. We'll sort that out. Yeah. So Periptero, assuming that's a kiosk, bakeries as well. So we were in Papantonio yesterday. And I was talking to my wife about it, going, I do not understand why bakeries are 24/7 in this country. Like in the UK, you can go to a 24/7 Tesco or a 24/7 Asda or whatever. Yeah. Even McDonald's 24/7. Out here, McDonald's closes. Like that was an alien concept to me, where we've been outside of McDonald's. We've dropped my son off at school like 7:30, thinking we'll go get McDonald's breakfast or a coffee or something, and it's closed. McDonald's doesn't close, but it was closed. It didn't open until 8 a.m. Like, what the hell? So anyway, all of the things that you used to be open 24/7 in the UK are closed. And then bakeries are 24/7. Now, I can't help but think, what kind of person needs a croissant at 2 a.m.? I mean, that's some serious culture thing going on here. Like, why somebody answer me this, because I don't know the answer. Why is it that bakeries are open? The kiosks I get, kiosks is like a 7-Eleven or a Tesco Express or whatever. So kiosks I get because people need to buy milk and stuff. I know bakeries sell milk and stuff like that. I learned yesterday they sell ham. Didn't know that. What buying ham in a bakery? Anyway, there's a new one on me. So why is it bakeries are open 24/7? I don't know. I'm interested. I actually would like to know why it's a bakery, and why don't they just have Philippos open 24/7, or Alpha Mega? Why is there not a 24/7 Alpha Mega? Why do they all close at 9 p.m.? Anyway, Brian's gone. Mark, you have a great live chat room with excellent info, not only from yourself, but also input from others in the chat who also have knowledge to share. Great channel. Appreciate that, Philip. Thanks very much. I do appreciate that. And honestly, I love the fact that you guys are interactive, not just with me, but with each other. And it's partly why I wanted to do this Cyprus Unfiltered meetup, like the monthly meetup that we do, because a lot of you guys now will have come out to Cyprus, whatever. And you're talking to me, fair enough. It's not a conversation per se, because it's very one-sided. It's like a bit of text, and I'm just talking to you on the camera. But you guys get to see each other in the comments. And what I saw in the first meetup, and a little bit yesterday as well in the second meetup, is like people are introducing themselves by their screen name. It's like, oh, I'm this person or whoever. And so it's nice that for you guys then coming out to the island, you might have chatted to some people or alongside people in the comments here. So I'm pointing like you can see on my screen. Anyway, chat to alongside people here, and you can meet them in person. And, you've got somebody you can be friends with when you come out to the island. You know somebody that you sort of know somebody already, even though you might have only chatted or seen them online or whatever. So anyway, I'm glad you're getting used out of it, Philip. And I appreciate the comments, appreciate the feedback. Karen, thanks again, Mark. Ditto the above. No problem. Thanks, Karen. I appreciate it as well. And sorry, a few more comments just come through. Karen, yeah. So yeah, ditto. Thanks. Yeah, no, you're more than welcome. And like I say, I appreciate people's feedback. I appreciate people jumping in and chatting as well. So that's cool. Philip Prowlins, Karen, are you ex-military? See, I reckon, right? I could probably just slip away, and you guys can just chat to each other. Like, basically, it's like the Cyprus Unfiltered live chat room. That's going back in the past, isn't it? In fact, I bet Cyprus, I bet they're just discovering chat rooms now. Like IRC chats and stuff. Like, this will be all new. I bet somebody's going to release Napster out here. It'd be like cutting edge. In fact, I'll tell you a story about cutting edge, and I'll come back to the comments. I went into Papa Antonio the other day, right? And the self-service checkouts, again, this is me making fun of differences between Cyprus and the UK, not because I'm trying to offend people. I just find it funny, and my intention is not to offend. My intention is kind of to educate with a little bit of humor mixed in as well. So anyway, I've gone into Papa Antonio, and they've now got these new self-service checkouts. There's two things that I realized about these self-service checkouts. The first thing is that the lady who was there, lovely lady, she was there, and it was like she'd just discovered fire for the first time. I went in with my basket, and she was very prescriptive. Hello, sir. Hello. Yep, just pop your basket there. Pop the basket there. Okay, right. You need to take the products out, and you need to scan the barcode. Like, okay, got that. Yep. Right, and then you need to put the bag there, and you take your products, you put them in the bag. And at this point, I didn't have the heart to tell her that I knew. She was clearly in her element. She was clearly enjoying this new part of the job. And so I just rolled with it. And I was like, okay, thank you, very nice. Being very respectful. And it was funny to me because in the UK, they've gone so far the other way. Like, I can't remember the last time I went into Tesco and somebody wanted to serve me. Like, now there's one person stood by a load of self-checkouts, and if you go and stand by the tills, somebody comes down and tells you not to go on the tills and to go and do it yourself. Like, go to the self-service checkout. They've gone so far the other way that it's actually lovely to be here in Cyprus, in places like Alpha Mega, when you still get people that pack your shopping bags for you. Like when did that stop becoming a thing in the UK? So I do like it here, but there are times when you do see how old school it is. And that then brings me on to the second point about the self-service checkout. So you've got this lady who was in absolute awe and wonder of this new technology that's been implemented into her place of work. And then I'm putting my bananas to scan the barcode that I'd got from the vegetable counter and the fruit counter with another real person there who weighed my weighed my bananas and stuck a label on them. Right now, when they figure out that there's functionality on these scales where you can put the bananas on and it will weigh them and give you the price and you can put that in your basket, it's going to blow their mind. They are going to be blown away. And somebody's going to be unemployed, which sucks for them. But honestly, like, some of the things are so far behind the times, and then they're just starting to catch up. But anyway, it's funny, it's quirky, I enjoy it, and I still love it, and I'd still rather be here. So yes, anyway. Karen, are you ex-military? I've got that. Karen, yes, I am. Okay. Oh, hang on. Chris. Yeah. I'm going to say it again. Peroptero equals kiosk, and many of them are 24/7. I didn't know that was the word, because they all just say kiosk, actually. Like, literally, for anybody coming here, they just say kiosk. So I've learned something new tonight. Philip, same here. Same here. You learned something new. No, you're ex-military. Let me get that right. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I might be mistaken now. Could be mistaken. You got married. Philip, you were married here, right? I think you got married here. I might be mistaken now. Could be mistaken. I think you got married here. Lost my place. Jonathan, IRC, that's a flashback. Not in Cyprus. Cutting edge here. Karen, nice. Juliet Winnett, nice video. Thanks, Juliet. I don't know how long you've been on for, but thanks very much. That's cool. Philip, Cliffy, which regiment? Karen, Red Cap. I have no idea what you guys are on about right now. I'm assuming you're all in the RAF, or were in the RAF, because the RAF base is here, right? What's a red cap? Like, when you're at school and you have like the different houses, and some people had the red, some people had the yellow. I think I had the green. I think I was Flambill, whatever that was at high school. What's a red cap mean? This is turning into military unfiltered tonight. Actually, I'd like to know what a red cap is. Chris, no one uses self-service checkouts here except in Lidl. I will not put single mothers out of work. Yeah, no, exactly right. And this is what I'm saying. I joke about it, not about putting single mothers out of work. That's just wrong. No, I joke about it as in, the Cypriots, they have got a culture shock coming at some point in the future. Like, literally, for those of you that don't know, and I know I'm joking about it tonight, but genuinely, people are paid to weigh your fruit out here. Like, the thing that you do automatically in the UK that goes on a set of scales, people are paid to weigh it and put a sticker on. And when I first arrived, I didn't know you had to do that. So I kept going to the tills to pay with like a watermelon or with, my bananas or my apples. And they kept sending me back. And you have to get them weighed. Like, why can't you just do it here? Like sooner or later, you're going to have a till with some scales in it and you'll just weigh it for me. No, got to go back over there, get your sticker. Okay, fine. So on one hand, there's going to be a big shock coming to them in the future. But on the other hand, there's a lot of people that depend on that for work, which is going to suck for them. Philip, laugh out loud. Philip, yep. Philip, police. I'm so confused right now. Red cap is the. I think we need to meet up. I need to. What military police? I'm going to go for. There we go. Military police. No, Karen. No military police. I was based in Episcopi and had a married quarter there that no longer exists. I mean, I'm just about following here. I'm just about. Has anybody got any questions? I'm just about keeping up with this conversation. I think. I'm not sure, but anyway. Well, what time are we on? We're on 25 to midnight. 27 people are still online. I'm going to have a drink. I'm going to put my like and share screen up one last time. If you've got any questions in the chat, I'll answer them. Or you can talk about the military. Either's good for me. You can talk about the military. I can't answer questions on the military, but between Philip and Karen, they've got your back. So I'm going to go have a drink. We'll go back to some more questions in a second. If anyone's got anything, we'll keep chatting. If not, then we can call it a night and I will let you all go do something else with your Sunday evenings. Right. I'm going to come back one last time. And if anybody's got anything, put it in the chat now and I will answer your questions. Otherwise, I will be heading off and I will let you guys go. Philip, nice to know you, mate. Cool. I don't know if you're talking to me or Karen at this point, but I'm going to take that one. I'm going to say thank you very much. And nice to know you too. And to Karen, I'm going to be a child and go, no. Oh, you've got to have fun, haven't you? Juliet Winnett, how is your health? Okay. Well, for those of you that are new to the channel, okay, I'll answer it. Not. Hope my son's not watching. So, my health is generally just okay. For those of you who don't know, I've had a thing going on where I've got this numbness in my face here. My chin has been numb since about last August. I'll tell you a loose story about it, and then I'll actually answer the question. So last August, we had some friends come from the UK. And they flew in from the UK, and about 4 days in, I lost my taste. And I thought, buggers, they brought COVID with them. That's what I assumed. I assumed I'd got COVID and I'd lost my taste or whatever. Anyway, they came and went, and I still hadn't got my taste back like a month later. But at that point, my tongue was numb. I hadn't really got my taste back. And then it started to spread into my chin, into my lip and everything else. Anyway, I ended up having some checks done and some scans and a whole bunch of stuff and an operation back in November time. And I did a healthcare video. Excuse me. I did a healthcare video all on that. And if you haven't seen the healthcare video and you're interested in what healthcare is really like in Cyprus, go and have a watch of that, because I kind of broke it all down at the time. What the operation was like and everything else, and the theatre room and all of that stuff. I kind of just talked about it all. And anyway, fast forward to now, the numbness and everything have been getting worse. And for those of you, the eagle-eyed among you will probably see this in my neck. I've got this big lump that's kind of going through now. So when that started becoming visible, I thought, well, I should probably go get this checked, because they did tell me, to be fair, in November, like, come and get another MRI scan done. 3 months' time, we'll go from there. And, you know, end of the day, I'm a guy, and it wasn't causing me any pain. I still had a bit of numbness here, and I was just like, well, in November, they'd already ruled out all the nasty stuff that it could have been. You know, they kind of went through a list of things. It wasn't cancer. It wasn't any of these things. Okay, cool. So February, March time, I was like, well, I'm supposed to get an MRI scan. I won't go get an MRI scan. I'll just go at some point. You know, it's numb. It might have to be numb for the rest of my life, but you know, we'll figure it out. It'll be fine. And about April time, this started becoming visible, and I was like, bugger, I better stop being a man and I better go back to the hospital and sort it out. So about 5 weeks ago, I re-engaged with the hospital, and they basically had to do some checks. I had an FNA biopsy where they stick in this needle and they do all this thing. And then they sent that away for a check, and they came back and they've confirmed, annoyingly, that it is a tumor. I have a tumor in my neck. Now, what we don't know, what they don't know yet, is whether or not it's cancerous, because it's 100% it's a tumor, but they now need to proceed to an open biopsy where they basically cut me here, and then they put me under general anesthetic. And well, hopefully they put me under general anesthetic first, and then they cut me, because it will suck if they do it the other way around. That's going to really hurt. Anyway, they do that, and then they'll find out what type of tumor it is, whether it's benign, whether it's malignant, or whatever. So I'm in that zone. I don't know, but it's starting to ache. My lips numb, my chin's numb, and now I sound like your nan because I'm just whinging, moaning about how ill I am. I'm not ill. I'm fine. Been to the water park today. It's fine. Having a good time. What will be, will be. I'm not worried. And the reason why I'm not worried is because if you watch the videos that I did on health, you will see just how much better the healthcare is out here compared to what I was used to in the UK. I am happy that I'm here. I'm happy that whatever it is will be dealt with. And I'll have found out about it way faster here than I ever would have done in the UK, because in the UK, I'd probably still be waiting for referrals on scans. So what will be, will be. You know, I can't control it. I generally don't worry about things I have no control over. So what will be, will be. And as soon as I get the results, I will, once I've gone through this and figured it all out and I've come out the other end of it, there will be a health update video. Not because I want people to care about me, that's kind of irrelevant. I will tell you about the procedures and whatever happens, not for sympathy, but for education. Because a lot of people coming out to Cyprus, you know, certainly people that are thinking of retiring out here, healthcare is a big concern for them. And so I don't mind documenting my experiences with it, because that's going to help people see another side of Cyprus that you don't get to see. Like I say, I'm trying to build the channel that I wished existed before we came out here, and it didn't. So that's what I say when I'm trying to document this stuff. Some of it will be educational. Some of it might be mildly entertaining. I'm kind of bigging myself up there a little bit. You know, some of it I'll talk about the quirks of Cyprus, and then there'll be things like this where it gets really freaking real, and you guys will get to see that as well. You know, so I'll keep letting you know what happens, and hopefully I don't have to tell you what cancer treatment's like on the island, because if I do, I'll tell you, but hopefully I don't get that far, and hopefully it'll be fine. I know it's going to be fine, even if it's weird. It's numb. I feel like I'm dribbling. If you see me touch my face like, it's because I feel like I'm dribbling, because I can't feel my lip, but I'm not dribbling. Maybe I am. Anyway, what was I saying? For what I was saying. Anyway, point is, I'm fine. Right now, I'm fine. You know, I can't change the outcome. All I can do is deal with it. And depending on what happens, I will just document this for other people's benefit. And then, you know, you can all learn about what hospitals and operations and things like that are like going forward. Anyway, hopefully that answers the question, Juliet, but I appreciate the question and appreciate the concern. So thanks very much. Karen, thanks, Mark. Again, appreciate all your time and effort to help us all. More than welcome. That's it. More than welcome, Karen. Sorry, Mark, it's your show. No, it's absolutely fine. Like, seriously, it makes me very happy, Philip, that people are chatting amongst themselves, you know? And the reason why I say that is because when I first started this channel, and for those of you that have followed me for a while now, that you're probably getting bored of me saying this, but when I first started this channel, I was talking to myself and my wife, who is seemingly my biggest fan, for about the first 3 months. And there was not a single soul. Well, none of you guys were online. You know, like there's 23 people online now. I don't know what the maximum concurrent viewers are been tonight. The most I've had at any one time on a live view is like 50 something people actually online active. Anyway, for the first 3 months, it was literally just my wife watching and my son until he had to go to bed for school. And I remember it was probably sometime in December or early January. I remember logging in and there was 2 people waiting, and I was like, "Oh my god, I've actually got to, you know, like if I record something live and there's nobody there, like you guys in the comments could absolutely be slating me now, you could be rinsing me, and it's fine. Like sooner or later, I'm expecting feedback to come from people and be like, "Oh, Mark, you're shit." You know, I've had it in the comments. "Oh, Mark, you're so repetitive." Yeah, fine, I am. I have a crap memory. Even my wife tells me off for telling the same stories multiple times. You know, she's like, "Oh, yeah, I've told me this before." She's got to the point now where she just humors me and I'll tell the story and she nods along like it's the first time she's heard it, you know? Anyway, the point is, I like you guys chatting in the comments because it's kind of doing what I wanted to happen, which is building a community around this, right? It's building content and information for people looking to move to the island. It's giving you guys a way of meeting new people before you've even come out here. So I think that's really cool. So Don't apologize for being in the comments. And if anybody watching this, by the way, feels like they want to be negative, like go for it. If you think something, just say it. It's Cyprus Unfiltered. The point is, nobody needs to watch this. I'm very grateful that there's 24 of you on right now. I'm looking at my stats. The average view duration tonight has been 17 minutes. So people are watching me for a while before dipping in and out. I appreciate all of that, right? And I'm not for everybody. And I'm not for everybody. That's fine. I don't want to be for everybody, because if I was for everybody, then it means I wouldn't have an opinion on anything and there'd be nothing to relate to, because I would just be on the fence about everything. So the point is, I like the comments. There's been a few people in the comments that have been challenging before. That's fine. Go for it. I'm not here to have an argument with anybody. If you have a difference of an opinion to me, I'm never arrogant enough to think I've got all the answers, and I certainly don't necessarily think I'm right all the time. So I'm happy to learn. I'm doing this to educate you guys, and I'm also happy to learn as well. If I don't know something, that's why I'm asking you guys questions in the chat. I don't know it, so I ask. Why not? So yeah. So anyway, coming back. So Philip, yeah, don't be sorry. It's all good. Chris, only thing I'm jealous about Paphos is you have. Oh God damn it! Oh no, Papa Antonio. I can read that one. I was like, oh, I can't read this one. The only thing I'm jealous about is that you have Papa Antonio over there. Is that just the bakery? Because I know there used to be a supermarket, Papa Antonio, and I think they merged, or they were bought out by Skevelinitis, if that's how you pronounce it. I'm assuming you're talking about the bakery. Is Papa Antonio, is that not across the island? Is that just a Paphos thing? Because there's the other one. Was it Zorbus? Is it Zorbus? I think it's Zorbus. Let's have a look. Yeah, Zorbus Bakery. So is that only in Paphos as well? Please tell me you've got a Zorbus. Oh, you do? Okay, you do have those, right. You don't have Papa Antonio? Oh, I can't spell it though, can I? Papa John's? No. Papa. I just spell it. I'm going to check your chat now. Anyway, right, you can just tell me. So I won't waste people's time. You don't have a Papa Antonio. I didn't know that. I thought it was across the island. Chris, you can pay 20 to 30 euros here and see an actual specialist. Oh, yeah. So, no, Chris, I'm in good hands. I'm in very good hands. In fact, I'll tell you a story. And so, if for those of you that have followed my journey for any length of time, you'll know that when they first told me in November, they said it probably isn't cancer at the time, and it was before this lump was showing through. They said when it probably isn't cancer. All I heard was cancer, and so even though I have an open referral on Gessie to go and see this maxillofacial specialist, plastic surgeon. For those of you that don't know what a maxillofacial specialist is, I didn't. Plastic surgeon. I have an open referral on Gessie, but because they said it wasn't cancer, I just heard cancer. So I was like, I'm going to pay for speed. So I went to a private one and I paid like 900 euros to get it done fast. Now, that doctor, he's like I say, he's a private plastic surgeon. He's not registered on Gessie at all. And he's been very, very good with me on my follow-ups, to the point where he said, Mark, I'm not Gessie, but he has a friend. Again, Cyprus is not what you know, it's who you know. He has a friend who is putting me through on Gessie for him, but he's doing the operation. So a private doctor is going to do my operation for me because he feels like I'm his patient and he wants to keep working with me. And he's like, Mark, we're going to sort you out. Don't worry. So I'm in very good hands. I feel like I'm in very good hands. And this is the same doctor that in my first video, or one of the first videos, he was talking about he could get me hooked up with somebody in NHS back in the UK because he knows people there, and he was going to kind of do some stuff for me then when he thought I was going back home, because he thought I was going to be, he thought I was on holiday rather than living here. So anyway, so I'm in good hands with it all. But things are cheap. They're a lot cheaper out here than they are in the UK. Faster, cheaper. I mean, healthcare here is amazing. I'm very grateful for it. Juliet, thank you for answering. No problem. No problem. I'll answer anything. If I don't feel comfortable answering something, I'll just tell you guys I don't feel comfortable answering it, or I just won't answer it. No problem. Ask me anything. It's literally a live Q&A on a Sunday night. Ask me anything, and I will be as honest as I can be. Jonathan Ramsey, thanks for sharing, Mark. Best wishes for your health. Great channel and content. Very helpful insights. Oh, I appreciate that. Thanks very much. That's really cool. I'm glad you're finding it useful, Jonathan. Thanks for the best wishes as well. Sorry. Yeah, thank you. Juliet, 1K. 1K. Oh, subscribe. I'm going to assume you mean subscriber count. Yeah. Yes, it did. It ticked over to 1K. I think it was last week. So what it means is now my channel is technically monetized, and it means that I now make money from the channel. And by making money from the channel, let me see if I'll show you this again. I want to show you this because a lot of people think, you get monetized, now you're just doing it for the money or whatever. I'm going to show you how much money you don't make. I'm just trying to find, I'm new to this whole YouTube malarkey thing. Can it show me? Where's it show me? Oh, it's not telling me. Okay, basically it's like pennies on the pounds. I'm sorry, I was trying to show you. I'm not even sharing the screen. There we go. I was showing you this. But anyway, it's like pennies on the pounds. I can't find it. It was on there. Basically, it's like a few euros a month it makes. And so the point is, when I started this channel, for those of you that ever saw the very first video that I did, where I did this stupid little countdown, faked it and everything else, just because the point is, the production value of this channel is low. I don't edit videos and everything else. And I didn't do this, and I'm not doing this as a way to make money, right? Like YouTube AdSense, I couldn't care about it. It sounds horrible. I don't care, because you only make serious money if you've got hundreds of thousands of subscribers. Then it starts to be at the point where it's income replacing like money from ads. And this is going to be a very niche channel. I'm never going to make money on YouTube ads with the amount of people that I have on. But I would rather have 1,000 people like yourselves that are very engaged, that we meet up and we do some really cool things or whatever. I'd rather have 1,000 people that are very engaged than like 100,000 people that are just there in the background, just watching and clicking through, because it's vanity metrics. Like for me, I'd rather connect with people than just do something for views and do something for views' sake. So I have clicked over to 1,000 and it has been monetized. Why I'm telling you all of this? Well, because what it means is that adverts now play, I think, when my video starts, even on my live stream, when my live stream starts, adverts play. And so whether or not I tick monetization or not, the adverts will play, which means, when I go live now, in fact, I'll go to the screen. When I go live now and you guys see this screen coming in, there's adverts that are playing over the top of it. And so you might not see the first like 40 seconds or so. And what I haven't got to grips with yet, because it's all live and this is just me having fun, I don't know how long those adverts last when you're watching them. So I need to do some testing on that, because if they last 2 minutes and you can't click skip, well, then you miss all of my intro. So I'm like, well, crap, how long does my intro need to be now so you can get through the advert you've got to get through and everything else? But anyway, I'm bouncing around a lot. But for those of you that haven't followed me from the beginning, the reason why I started doing this channel in the first place is because there comes a point in life when, for some reason, you stop being passionate about things you enjoy, which sounds really stupid, I know. You think children, for those of you that have got kids, for those of you who've got young kids, like, so my son, he's really into kickboxing, he's really into go-karting, he's really into some cute computer games, he's very passionate about all of this type of thing. And there is no hang up on making money. There is no hang up on it needs to be productive. His passion is having fun. He enjoys the thing that he's doing. For some reason, as you get older in life, there comes a point when that changes, and people feel like, and this was myself included, people feel like your passion has to earn you money. You feel like if you're not doing something that's productive or that earns you money for the family or whatever, then you're wasting your time. And so hobbies start to fall away. You stop doing things for you and you're just doing things either for the family, or you're just doing things to try and progress or whatever. And so I got to this point in my life last year where I was so fed up of doing that. I was like, I need something back where I can do something where I can get the creativity back in me. I can do something that helps other people, and there is no hang up on money for it. So I take the thing that I do that I earn money for, and I earn money over here in the IT world, and now in the property world and everything else. And I take my YouTube channel and I move that over here. And the two things are totally separate. Like, I earn my income over here, so I don't need to make money from this thing over here. That doesn't bother me. I'm not a professional YouTuber. There are people that do YouTube for a living and they make all of their money on YouTube, and that's cool, but that's not me. I'll never be that guy, because doing live streams, for example, like, I know I don't get the views that I could get if I did a pre-recorded video. If I pre-recorded a video and edited it and posted it out, the views would be way more than me doing this. Like right now, I've been talking for nearly 3 hours and it's got 300 views. And if you're doing this for a business, that's a really bad return on investment when you think time. And I've had people say to me, like, why do you keep doing it? How do you get paid? I'm saying, I don't get paid. Like, well, why do you do it? Like, because I enjoy it. I enjoy talking to you guys right now. I enjoy meeting new people, and I enjoy meeting you guys when you come out to the meets. I do it because I enjoy it. That is it. That is why I do it, And are there byproducts of it? Yeah, absolutely there are. There's always a byproduct of something. So I now get to meet loads of you people that are coming out here, make new friends, stuff like that. Who knows? Maybe we'll do business together at some point in the future. But the point is, that was never the sole driver of what I'm doing. I'm doing this because I enjoy it, and I selfishly, like nothing in life is ever selfless. And people that say I'm just doing it for the people, they're wrong, and they're liars, right? They might not know they're liars, but they're liars. I can't say hand on heart that the only reason I do this is for you guys. What I can say is that the only reason I do this is for you guys because that makes me feel good, makes me sleep better at night, because I've helped somebody rather than done a bad turn to somebody. So when I'm talking about this, I did this channel because I wanted to do something else that wasn't just focused on work, focused on business or everything else. For me, this is an outlet, right? That's why I do it. So I am appreciative of the 1,000 subscriber thing, and I just think that's great. It means more people get to see what I'm doing, and more people hopefully get to benefit from the information. But it's kind of a vanity metric as well. Like, I would rather have 1,000 of you guys. I mean, there's not even 1,000. There's 24 of you right now. I'd rather have 24 of you on here now talking to me. I'm lonely. No, I'm not lonely. No, I'd just rather have 24 people on here engaging and actually having a conversation and connecting with real people than just doom scrolling. Oh, that's a cool video. Next one, that's a cool video. I'd rather do this and spend my time on a Sunday night talking to you guys than not. So anyway, there we are. That's why I'm doing it. That's a long way of saying 1,000 subscribers. I appreciate it though. And I don't get me wrong, I did have a little smile inside when I hit 1,000, because like I said, when I did first start this and it was just me talking to my wife, it kind of blows my mind a little bit that there's 1,000 people now. 24 of you are still here. Even 20, forget the 1,000. There's 24 of you right now listening to me prattle on, right? That somebody, for some reason, is finding some interest in what I have to say. That blows my mind, because I don't think I'm that interesting. I don't think that I'm the guy that people will be tuning into on a Sunday night to listen to, right? Because I'm just a guy like you guys. I moved to a country just telling the story of it. Let me just put the aircon back on. Now 26 is too cold, too hot. Oh, there we go. Aircon's coming back on. What was I say? Yeah, no, I'm genuinely blown away that you guys give me so much attention, and I don't mean that as in like a hey, look at me. I just mean time is the most valuable thing we have. People talk about money. You can't get time back. You can spend money, you can spend time, you can lose money, you can lose time, but you can get money back. You can't get time back. So the fact that you guys are tuning in on a Sunday night and listening to me, I appreciate that. I appreciate your attention, which is why I try and give you something of value. And if it's not of value, then entertainment, just anything that makes you feel like you've spent that time worthwhile and you actually get something back for it, because you could be watching someone else right now. Don't get me wrong. If it was still back in the Top Gear days, then I wouldn't expect anybody to be on. In fact, I'd probably be watching Top Gear anyway. So, but it's not on. So you get me. Right. Anyway, right. Enough of that. Philip. Cliffy, hope maybe one day we can have a pint and chat when I decide to move over to Cyprus. You too, Mark. Yeah, that'd be cool, Philip. That'd be really cool. And when you move over, you should just all come to the meetup on a first Saturday of the month, and we can all meet up there, and that'd be cool. And we can go from there, can't we? That'd be wicked. Chris, we have Zorbus, of course. It's island wide. Well, you say, of course. I didn't know Papantonio wasn't island wide. I thought it was. Karen, yes, absolutely, Philip. We're planning a move over next May. Just waiting for my Irish citizenship passport before we move over. I'm also looking forward to meeting Mark in person as well. Oh, that's very kind. Thanks, Karen. Chris, we're not commies. We're not commies. Happy if you make money from your efforts. Ha. That's cool. That's cool. Well, yeah, I appreciate that as well. But it's just know that it's not the sole driver. It really isn't. The thing is, can't say that, Dan. Now it sounds like so. I have this theory in life. You know, when people go, "It's okay, you can trust me," you instantly distrust that person. Or I know I say it, but when people go, honestly, yeah, or I really mean this. Okay, does that mean you didn't really mean it before? Does that mean you weren't being honest before? And I appreciate I'm contradicting myself now because I've probably done that tonight. Honestly, yes. Well, by me saying now, I don't want to make money from this, you're probably all sitting there thinking, he wants to make money from this. That, whatever. You can have an opinion of me. Your opinion is your opinion. That's fine. What did they say? Your opinion is not my business. That's one I like. Your opinion of me is not my business. So you'll be there before me. But the thing is, and for anybody else watching this, the thing is, I'll go serious for a moment now. At least you've got the plan. A lot of people don't even have the plan. They have a dream and they don't plan for it. And they hope, they wish, they want a better life, but they don't take action. People, I wish I could win the lottery so that, or I wish I could do that, or, you're really lucky. I wish I could be like that. People can be. They've just got to choose to take action. And you guys are taking action. So even if it's a year from now, it doesn't matter. At least you've got the plan to do it. Karen, I'll keep your seat warm. Philip, cheers, mate. Thumbs up. I don't know who's that in response to. Could have been Karen. I'm gonna give Karen that one because she said she's gonna keep your seat warm, and you said cheers. So I'm gonna give Karen that one. It's 1-1 now. Thumbs up, Philip. Oh my God, X1RRW. What does that mean? I have no idea. Philip, Mark, you're awesome. Well, Karen, that's 2-1 now. Yeah, literally said my name in it. I can't give you that one. Cheers, Philip. Appreciate that. Right. What are we on? We are on, midnight. My record for speaking to you guys live on a Sunday night, I think is about 3:20. About 18 minutes left, but I don't know if I'm going to get that far. There's 24 of you online. I will do one last call for questions. If anybody's got any questions, call. If not, I'm going to let you all go. So I'm going to have another drink. I'm going to come back to the questions in just a second. If you've got any questions, now is the time. Otherwise, I am going to call it a day. I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to let you guys go to bed. Although you probably won't go to bed yet because it's only 7 o'clock in the UK. Right. One last circle round. Philip, 1st Battalion, Royal Regiment of Wales. I liked it better with the first one, EX1RRR. That's easier to say. But that's cool, though. 1st Battalion, Royal Regiment of Wales. That's cool. I still don't know what it means, but it's cool. Right. Any more for any more? I don't think there is, or there is a delay. So I'm just going to give it maybe 10 seconds, maybe 20 seconds. But otherwise, just in case it's not, then I will just say thank you, everybody, for dialing in. Appreciate your attention, as always. Thank you for those of you that came to the meetup yesterday, and I hope to see more people there next month. Next month, we will be going to a different location. As I say, we won't go back to the same location. We're going to try a new venue. And I'm trying to find a permanent venue that we can kind of call home, so that then people know where to go and when to go, and it'll just be the same place, the same time every month, and people can just rock up. So yes, that's what's going to happen. And is a question, Stefan, are there any summer camp type things for kids? Yes, there are. There are summer camp type things for kids, because Jacob's going to be doing some as well. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that people can do, our kids can do. And there's sports camps as well, which technically is a summer camp because it's in summer. And that's part of his sports group. He's got a multi-sport group where they do like rugby, basketball, football, all different sports, hence the name multi-sports. And they've got a summer camp. The kickboxing club has got like a summer type school thing. So there are things that the schools do and that the sporting clubs do, yeah. But that said, there's not a huge amount for kids. We were talking about this yesterday. There's not loads and loads of stuff for kids to do. So if you have got small kids, that is something that you will notice when you come over here, is that there is not as much to do as you first think. Like before you come out, you look at it and you go, it's sunny, the beaches, the pools, the water parks, stuff like that. But that wears thin pretty quickly. Then when you realize you start living here, you realize that you run out of things to do pretty quick. But there are summer camps, to answer the question. There are summer camps for kids, yes. Juliet, good night. Good night, Juliet. Thanks for tuning in. Much appreciated. Philip, cheers, Mark and Cliffy. Enjoyable chat. Thank you, guys. Cheers, Philip. Thanks for dialing in or joining in. I keep saying dialing in like I'm on a bloody Zoom conference call. Thanks for joining. You haven't dialed in anyway. You clicked on the live link and none of us have dialed in. Anyway, thanks for dialing in. You're still here. My name is JF. We'll say good night. Thanks for another great insight into life over there. Catch you next week. Cool. Cheers, Jeff. Much appreciated. Thank you very much. And Chris, for some reason, YouTube decided to randomly recommend this channel to me. Appreciate you and the community you've built here, Mark. Cheers, Chris. I remember you saying this last week, because you said that for some reason it came up in your recommended feeds. What I'm interested in, I keep saying people are letting me go, but I do have a question, and it can be for next week if people have dropped off. I'm building this channel as a resource, and the resource that I wished existed when I didn't live here, because it's the sort of thing I'd have wanted to see when I was coming out to Cyprus. Like just talking about life in Cyprus is what I would have wanted to see, and that's what I'm trying to do. But for people that live in Cyprus, like now, like I'm expecting that people that are on the chat, people that I've met, I know people are still watching me that have moved here, like people that have maybe seen me through the channel, then they've moved here and then I live here, and people are still watching. And like for yourself, Chris, you've lived here for many years. Yeah, you're watching me. And so I'm always intrigued by the people that are here on the island already. Like what do you get from this? Like there's probably nothing I can teach you on this, because you've lived here longer than me, right? So any stories I've got, you've probably got 100 different ones that top my stories anyway. I'm intrigued as to what value people get. And actually for people that do live here, and this is where I like to try and learn, for people that do live here, as an expat from the UK, what would you like to see? Like, is there anything that from a British standpoint, a British citizen, that you think that would be really interesting? Like the eyes of Cyprus, Cyprus through the eyes of a Brit, or, British experiencing Zivania for the first time. I don't know, like, something like that. Like I'd do a shot live on air. I don't know, whatever it might be, but like what people living here, what do you get and what do you get from it? And what would you like to see different, I guess, is the question. And you don't have to answer. If you just want to put it in the comments or put it in the chat, that's fine. Or if you just want to drop off and go to bed, that's also fine. Mike Cummins, great as always. Cheers, Mark. Good night. Good night, Mike. Good night, Joanne. Thanks for dialing in. Philip, Jeff, are you in South Wales? We're going to have to do a Cyprus Unfiltered meetup in South Wales by the sounds of it. I nearly slipped into a Welsh accent there, but I'd butcher it and make a fool of myself, so I'm not going to do that. Chris, you're just a decent bloke, mate. Nice to chat. Oh, well, that's very kind. All Well, I appreciate that, Chris. Maybe next time I'm in Larnaca, or maybe next time you're in Paphos, maybe we can link up and chat face to face. That'd be cool. Cool. All right. Well, there are no more questions coming through. We've done 3 hours, 8 minutes. Not like that's a metric, but I don't like to waste people's time. So if there is nothing else anybody wants to know, then I'm going to go to bed, I think, because 10 past midnight here nearly. So I am going to go to my like and share screen. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you all, as always. Hang on a minute. Ear dopes. That's a new name. I've not seen ear dopes before. I live since a few months in Paphos, and I'd just like to see other people from Western Europe doing the same thing. Cool. All right. That's nice to know. Well, feel free to join us the first Saturday of the month. And like I say, I'll put the message out on YouTube as well as Facebook. But you can meet the same people from Western Europe if you fancy that as well. You come and meet us, come meet other people. It'll be cool. Right. Nothing else coming through. I know there's a lag, but anyway, I will go to my like and share screen. So I'm just going to say thank you all for choosing to spend Sunday night listening to me prattle on. I hope you all found it a bit useful, and if nothing else, hopefully you found it interesting. So I will say goodnight to you all. Thanks for everything, and I will catch you all next week. Have a good week all. Catch you soon. Cheers.